How about now? All right, that one's better. And then let's see if I got you up and running. Digital audio interface, free digital. What is that? Digital mic. Digital mic, digital audio interface. No. Speakers. No. Digital audio interface to USB. No, it's not USB. Now. Say something.
I am. That's what the words are.
Oh, perfect. I can hear you
Are we
actually.
good?
Yeah, you're good there. That's good. All right, so we're getting better.
Yeah. I just have to, you know, ventriloquism
All right. You need to be a little louder, it says to me. All right, here we go.
for a long time. Okay. Hey, why don't I do this? Why don't I put the mic by my head? That'll be really. Is that good?
Echo.
Is that good? Echo. Echo. Like this is as close as. Okie dokie.
All right, loud and clear. It's about time.
Sweet.
Yeah, the echo was on purpose. That was totally on purpose.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah.
when you're hearing a song and they echo a lyric, you're
Yeah.
like, dang, that was so amazing.
Yeah.
Did they sing that like that?
All right, sound effects coming through. Okay. So the craziest time, try to get everything together tonight, and it's not like usual. I'm having a hard time explaining this one. So I've actually minimized the amount of electronics by like a ton. So I got a couple good microphones, where before I had a couple of cheap microphones. Dude, look, I'm trying to switch the camera over to the nice, expensive camera, and it is completely taking a shit. I'm gonna give it about one more shot, and then I'm going to murder someone. This is not just going to be about what is this like? I think there's a red filter on the light in the background, so that's acceptable. I was like, what the fuck? All right. Check. I don't even know what a virtual camera is. So, and live. And done. Okay. And right up my nose. You're welcome. Okay. We are going to save. And I don't know why it's glitchy. It's weird. Are you guys seeing that glitch? Are you seeing that? Like
yeah,
it's
have you
like
seen that movie Matrix?
it's like this
It's like it's happening in real life right now, man.
weird shimmer. See right there.
Yeah.
So
Have you ever
not
you
you.
ever
Hold
thought
on.
you saw deja vu, bro? It's not deja vu, man.
Yeah, mustard wine, but you really need to get your second order. So I'm trying to figure out if this stuff is freezing on me or if it's freezing on you guys. And I'm not having any frame drops. I'm using 2 USB devices. 2. That's it. 2. Wait. Nope. I'm using 1. I'm using that camera, and that camera is not actually working. This is $100 camera. this is the one that always works. It does rather well. Now all of a sudden it's not. I don't have Wi-Fi on. I don't have any updates going on in the background. I even got rid of the secondary video capture where I was going to show pictures of my father, but we'll figure out. We'll do that a different way. So this has just been bizarre, bizarre. I feel like uh, maybe my pops doesn't want me to talk about him. I think maybe he's doing a little poltergeist on me. Because you wouldn't think that if you minimized the amount of crap that was running, that things would be more complicated. Wouldn't think, but who knows, man? Who knows? So I'm still looking at my video, and my video is not catching up. At least it's not showing me that anything has happened. Your picture froze. Yeah, see, this is what I'm telling you. This is the strangest thing.
Is there no Uncle PP?
No.
I mean, that's a good thing. I tend to break cameras, but um, I don't really mind if you insist on staring at me like you normally do.
You're a dork. I'm going to just do the built-in piece of shit webcam because at this point, I'm going to flip the fuck out. So let's go with USB 2.0 piece of shit red camera. That's fine. Capture format. Who cares? What? Why is the chroma like red? Like, why the fuck is it red? Auto detect color. Please, for the love of God. Edit chroma key. I don't even know what that is. Edit color filter. Can we just do default, please? How about, let's do vintage. Let's do black and white. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do refresh. Oh my God, what is wrong with this thing? I feel like having it on auto optimize is a bad idea because nothing is optimized today. So strange. Like just default people. Why? Why is it making everything look red? Whatever. I'm over it. I'm beyond over it at this point. All right. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So my picture's unfrozen. And Kaylee, Uncle Peepee's here. He's sitting behind me.
Hey.
There's not enough camera space for him.
Is that Haley? Haley's awesome. She's
No,
my favorite. Oh, Kaylee. Hi, Kaylee. You're okay too.
Hold on. No, we're having audio issues. This is insane.
But, that's just the kind of madness in real life that Jeff rolls through. So this is pretty fitting.
Well,
As
that's
your best friend. I can confidently speak about that.
that's the stupid part is I don't generally have issues like with life. Life is fine.
No, but
But
you genuinely
stupid shit.
fix stuff and make things work and create a situation that is favorable from something that wasn't. So I'm just used to sitting back and letting you handle it. The fact you're still on air says a lot. I think it's great.
Fuck it. Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me now? Mother, can you hear me now? Tell me you can. Tell me I'm coming through loud and clear. Yes? Yes. Okay. I am coming through loud and clear. I just had one more effing thought. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I wonder if because I didn't put any delay on this thing that it's causing this issue. No noise. I just want things to work. You don't need to mute. Nope. Nope. And camera hasn't crashed yet. It's really pretty nutty. All right, think we're ready to rock.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it for sure.
I think we are ready to go.
Pickled pink.
Are you? I'm glad.
¿Cómo estás? Muy bien.
Muy bien.
I'll just fill the air since people are actually, well, probably 5 people are actually listening to the clicking of a keyboard. It is, what is this? The day after Easter. And Easter's on a random Sunday.
I think today's
the first Sunday of every.
Today's Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday.
Second day after Easter, but yeah, close.
But anyway, I never really understood the difference with holidays that are set on a day, like Thanksgiving versus Christmas, which is on the 25th, regardless. It just seemed, even as a kid, I remember bringing it up and being like, we don't get any time off from school except for like the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before. Like the day after that, we should definitely have some time off. So that was a deep thought of Uncle PP. Oh, okay. It doesn't disturb my train of thought. I'm still rolling. I got this.
I just want to see what the best mic is.
Okay.
I'm picking you up. Guys, trust me. We're going to roll on it in just a second. Okay, talk.
Okay.
Go ahead. Just say Jeffrey Adams is amazing.
Jeffrey Adams is almost as amazing as Uncle Pee-Pee.
No, it's a Jeffrey, so I got to be a little bit more.
Oh, okay. I thought we were doing it for the audible of the mic.
Oh, yeah.
But that was an actual thing you want me to say.
Yeah. Hey, so
I'm sorry about that. I didn't know.
So for real. So you came over today and you beat me home, and and I got home, and what's the first thing that I told you?
That I don't remember. I forget.
Okay, well,
I think I started talking.
But I mean, not the very first thing, but there was something about today.
Yeah, you were saying that you were basically, you said you feel very morose. I remember that word specifically.
Yeah.
And then you're not sure why it is. And it was to the point where I felt inclined to kind of dig and see if there's something I could do to help.
Yeah.
And as I was asking, you kept just saying, I really don't understand. I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And
that was actually
I just rolled with it, and
time frame that was actually yesterday, but that's okay.
Today,
today
the first thing you talked about was your dad passing away.
Yeah.
And that's why you didn't feel good the night before.
Yeah.
Which was incredible to me, because that's like a sixth sense, subconscious type of awareness.
Yeah.
And for you to actually have that strong reaction to something subconsciously that you pick up on without even be able to, realize it in the moment yourself.
Yeah.
It's always intriguing to me when those types of things happen. So
I thought in my head for some reason I always thought my dad passed away on like April 10th for some reason, but it was actually April 6th, 2010. But it was so that 410 thing was in my head.
Ah,
So it's always sometime around this first week and definitely around Easter time that that it'll kind of start eating away in the back of my head, and it's like
yeah, it's just it's associative at this point. It's there with Easter.
yeah. And like even on Easter, like I don't like I had the kids, and then uh, Lisa came by, and there was a lot of action and whatnot, and I don't personally always just associate Easter with losing my father, but it was
The time of year,
it
yeah.
was that it was a time of year, and if I recall correctly, I think it was actually April 5th that I believe it was Easter. I could have sworn it was Easter. My mom could
In
correct me.
2010, that was on Easter.
Yeah, so I believe he called me on April 5th to let me know what was going on, and he passed away on the 6th on the next day. So,
Wow.
um, and I think that's right because I think Lisa's mom and stepdad were at our house, and that's when we lived on 33rd Street. And I got up from dinner to take the phone call from my dad, which I will recant here, or I not recant. I will recant. Yeah,
Yeah, I
whatever
mean,
whatever the fucking
this
word
is
is.
a tribute to the man who raised the man. Um, and everything I've heard and what I know and love about you, it's a real tragedy that he's not enriching people's lives somewhere. Just a really honorable, good, decent man.
No, actually, he was a complete asshole. I was just lying to you the whole
Yeah.
time because I wanted you to think my dad was better than yours.
You know what? My dad was too, except he was the total opposite, and he was a rock star and a champion. And yeah, but I get what your point is. Yeah.
So,
No, we can talk about my mom, and we can go a different route though. Anyway, so yeah, you figured out what was going on yesterday.
my mom just said he passed away on Tuesday. We found out on Monday night. So, okay, so Sunday was Easter. Monday is when you guys went out to Walnut Creek, where he was diagnosed, and then again, and then he passed on Tuesday. So this is actually it's kind of it's interesting because every 11 years you'll cycle back to the same date based on um, you know
Right, because it does that in holidays like Thanksgiving and Easter that are designated on the end of the week or last Sunday or Wednesday or however they're designated. Yeah.
yeah.
They'll
I
recycle through
I
and
think Easter is based on the Pentecost calendar. So it's also based on it's closely mirrors Passover. So that those calendars are set, and they're like the Advent calendars. So that's
well, you think
the canonical calendars are actually set by the church, and then the secular holidays are usually established on a day that fits that. So
right.
it's Pentecost Sunday.
Well, and you think that the reason maybe they stress the day of the week and and that whole bit is maybe that was a more important event that would go with what happened, or that's just especially with the raised after 3 days. He was crucified on a Friday, and they
Right.
call it Good Friday, right?
Yep.
Like that was the worst Friday.
Well, it was
Yeah,
it was good for us in the
yeah.
end, right?
No, yeah, it was, but not until he was raised from the dead. Because
And
until he was raised from the dead, he was just a guy who talked a big game.
and then the
The only
Thursday,
person that raises from the dead is the Son of God.
right? Then the Thursday is Monday, Thursday, right? Monday, Thursday, Good Friday. I don't know what Saturday is called. I don't know. There's names.
Saturday's the Sabbath.
So let's talk about my dad. So I'm going to see if it is possible, without making anything crazy happen, to share some
And if anybody's
pictures.
listening, I think that Jeff looks like his dad. Not like spitting image, but I can definitely tell he's his dad. And he thinks that that's absurd. So if you can tell us what you think, we'd appreciate it.
Um, yeah, I think well, I told you I look like my mother, strongly, but it's not to say there's not some resemblance.
Did your mom have an affair with Kevin Bacon?
That's hilarious.
Ah, thanks. Sometimes you just swing for the fences, baby.
Uh, so I got to get these photos up here.
Aren't I supposed to like
No, you. No,
try to help you with the tech stuff?
no.
You picked a real dummy to help in that way.
No, you're just supposed to hang out and make me feel like I'm not screwing everything up
Oh,
occasionally.
I got it. Yeah,
All right.
like you haven't learned the lesson of delegating any responsibility my way. I get you.
All right, I'm logging into Facebook so I can pull this up and we'll take a look. So I'm going to tell you guys about my dad. So my dad was kind of a typical baby boomer. Uh,
Would you call him old school?
well, he wasn't old school to me because he was just my dad. So
Right.
now, I mean, if you're thinking about like how people define the boomer
Which
gen,
is which is more of a characteristic and personality type and approach more than it is like an age. But I love people that are old school. I really do. I appreciate it. So from everything you've told me so far, I definitely got the impression that he was an old soul.
yeah, to say the least. Give me a sec. Let me pull the pictures so we can go through them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. On the sea they play all day, and on the shore they slave away. no on the Little Mermaid song? Okay. We have an agreement that he runs the podcast, so I said, all right. Considering I suck at it and don't really care, I says that's great. Sounds good.
No, you, oh, what? Don't hit yourself.
I was throwing darts from a sitting position. I'm that good.
All right, I think I'm gonna be able to do some dad pictures here. I think I got this. Oh, this is beautiful. This would be great. All right, you guys ready? Hot mess. Hot mess. All right, so here we go. Can you hear me now? Yes, you can. All right, so I'm back. I don't blame any of you if you guys just bailed. I told you there's like a tech poltergeist going on. How do I minimize the amount of things that I have and then have the maximum amount of problems? It's uncanny. I just wanted to do two things. I wanted a camera to work, and then I wanted to be able to show some pictures. So that's it. But I think I'll be able to do some pictures.
I know this is like blasphemy for your genius level of hack. What if I just pull up your pictures on Facebook and enlarge it on my phone and you put it up to the camera?
No, I have them set up, so we'll be okay.
That's what you call a hard no.
Hard no.
Just so you know.
I'm good on this one. All right. So first memories I have of my dad. So my dad was this giant man. He was like 10'6", if there ever was a man that size. I remember he was um, he wasn't scary. He would make me laugh, and some of my earliest memories would be him coming to tuck me in, and which he did religiously. Um, he would come and say prayers with me, and you guys know the classic childhood prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, and if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Amen. And I loved that part. He would read me books before bed, and I definitely had some favorites. I loved Are You My Mother? That book would make me giggle so hard. And it's not even that my dad was like a very good actor, but when he got to the part where, if you guys know the story, it's a little bird that falls out of a tree, and the bird's going all around and like talking to the cat and talking to a hay bale and just talking like randoms everywhere. Like, are you my mother? No, I'm a cat. Stupid. Or it doesn't say stupid, but you get the gist. Are you my mother? No, I'm this. I'm the dog. And finally, he gets to there's a big tractor, and the bird's like, "Hey, are you my mother?" And the tractor says, "I'm not your mother." No, no, the tractor says, "Snort," and then a big puff of gray smoke comes out of
It
it.
still gets me if I'm being honest.
And he goes, "You are not my mother. You are a snort." And I thought that was the funniest thing in the world as a little kid, and I would laugh hysterically just over someone being a snort. That was like the first, like, I think that was my first understanding of comedy, was just that, like, was that. And I would start giggling before you even got there. I remember I would just like start shaking. Yeah. Just like shaking, just knowing it was gonna happen. And so I was raised with my big sister Jenny, and we were about 2 years 10 months apart. Not about, we were 2 years 10 months apart, give or take 6 days, I believe, or 4 days. So we grew up in the 70s. Yeehaw.
Do a
Dad,
little dance, make a little love. The 70s?
was that Earth, Wind, and Fire?
I think it's the Bee Gees, but it was on Forrest Gump. sounds right.
Oh yeah, my dad would also do the joke, or the prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I park my Chevy up the street. If it rolls before I wake, come on God, put on the brake. That was a good one too. Thanks, mom. So 70s children. I was born in the end of 73. My sister was born in beginning of 71, and my folks had just gotten back from Germany. My folks met. They went to the same high school, but I believe they were 2 grades apart. Um, didn't know each other in school, but my mom swears that she remembers seeing this handsome senior and thinking like he's the guy, like it was destined to be. They went to San Diego
Oh,
High School, which no longer exists. It's in Encinitas, California. And if I recall, my dad graduated in 63 or 64. And mom in 66, maybe 64, 66. So 2 grades apart. And I know what I knew of my dad was he worked for the government. Like I knew he worked for the government. Um, I knew he worked for ComNav AirPack. I knew because I would get stickers that would say ComNav AirPack on them, and I would love to have those stickers. And then there would be I would have different stickers from different divisions out there on the Coronado North Island base where he worked, and I knew that certain things meant this was a lighter than air dirigible, and then this code meant it was an aircraft carrier, and this code meant it was this and that, and I would collect these metallic stickers that he would get for me out of work. So amongst my friends, I had kind of this sense of pride because I didn't know what the government was, but I knew it sounded like it was a job that was harder to get than some others. People always say, "What does your dad do?" They say, "Oh, my dad's a firefighter." I'm like, "Okay, my dad works for the government." It's like a trump card, boom. And then another friend, my dad's a librarian. I was like, "How much does he make?" I like, I asked Matt Dixon's dad that. I was like fourth grade. How much does your dad make? My dad makes $36,000 a year. Like I didn't even have any concept of money. I just knew that in like 1980 something, 81 or 82 or whatever, that's how much money he made. But so dad was kind of like this mythical creature. Dad was 64, so I was right. I was right the second time. Dad was kind of this mythical creature because he was gone during the day. He would come back in the evening. It was like up and out by 7, up at 5:30, out by 7, back by 5:30. Have dinner, um, go putz around and work on stuff in the garage until 9 o'clock or so, and then by then we were already in bed by 8, and we had kind of this routine. Dad was he was very low key, very chill guy. If he came home and mom was pissed because we were running her ragged, then he would follow instructions as a good husband should do. And I had to do this too. Hey, honey, how was your day? And this is I've had this exact same conversation with Lisa. It was fucking horrible. The kids were insane. Hunter slash Jeff got in trouble at school. Hunter slash Jeff. Yeah, I got paid back in spades. And then, depending on the severity of what I did, I may already be cowering in my bedroom, and then Dad would come in and kick the door open with his toe. Say, "Well, son, is there something you want to tell me?" I'm like, "Nope. I know you're." My logic was, I know that he already knew because I heard my mom tell him. "Well, looks like I need to spank you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sucks. Do you have to?" He's like, "Yep." "How many times do you think I should spank you?" I'm like, "For what? What'd I do?" He's like, "You tell me, what'd you do?" got on my bike and I went past the school. Mom saw me at Bonds, or that was not an uncommon thing to get in trouble for. So I was like a mile and a half past the demilitarized zone. Wasn't I was not allowed to go beyond that school. I got into a lot of trouble beyond that school. So in hindsight, they were right, but that's where all the adventure was. No adventure between your house and the school. You covered all that already. You have to go check other things out. So, um, so oftentimes we'd negotiate a spanking. So, how many times do you think you should get spanked? I'm like, twice. He's like, no, not high enough. Go better. 3 times. All right. Then he's like, 6. I'm like, 6. That's twice as much. He said, well, you shouldn't have get started so low. I would have settled for 3 if you started there. Dude, brutal. So, anyways, the anticipation of death is far worse than death itself. I think that's a Buddhist saying. That's how I felt when it came to being spanked by my dad, because it was this long drawn out scenario, and it's not that he spanked me hard. It's just that I had to participate in the moment. It was almost better getting spanked by my mom, who you knew she was coming at you charged, man. She was coming in hot. You can hear her fucking whistling in like a jet auguring into the side of a mountain. Here she comes, and you're like, "Wow, bam!" You could prep for that. You know, your fight or flight triggers immediately, and you're like, "Ooh, clench up those butt cheeks and try and get away." Dad made it like torture. It was like death by 1,000 cuts. I never tried the book in my pants thing though, because I knew if I did that, I'd get in trouble. What? Mom said I got caught 9 miles away from the house one time. Yeah, I did. On my skateboard of all things. So I wasn't supposed to go past like 1 mile, which is approximately, not it's not even that. It's probably half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile from the family home to the elementary school. And I got caught 9 miles away on my skateboard, up a mountain, and yeah, mom and dad were at grandma's house, 50, which is 50 miles north, and I was like, dude, got plenty of time to let's go explore. So the hill that they had to come up over after they got off the freeway to come down into Santee where we lived, Mission Gorge Road. It also was a really good road that if you rode your skateboard all the way to the old Mission Dam, and then you took the old Mission Dam road all the way around the base of Cowles Mountain, then you could come up over the top and then ride your skateboard all the way down this ginormous gorge. That's why it was called Mission Gorge. It was big. Like on a skateboard, and I had a kamikaze. I didn't even have anything nice. My friend Ryan had his GNS with dope trucks on it, and I had a Costco Price Club kamikaze board, which was still did the trick, but the stability was not quite the same as a high end board. When you're doing 40 miles an hour on a skateboard on your ass, and there's no sidewalk and there's no bike lane because no pedestrians are supposed to be there. The speed limit's 55 miles an hour. It was at that time, I believe, 3 lanes, maybe 4 lanes total, 2 on each side, and down a cavernous mountain. And we're just hauling ass. Or hauling ass. I got a ticket in my Daihatsu Charade for doing 107 miles an hour down that same hill. That's a 3-cylinder car that's not supposed to go over 85. So that'll give you an idea how fast you can go just on gravity alone. Yeah. So I got caught that time. I believe my folks were coming home and they drove past us, and I think my dad saw us, but my mom didn't. If I remember that was the case. And that might have been the time also where there was a Volkswagen Bug that was that had caught fire. Back then, it was very common for Volkswagen Bugs to catch fire. That's because that's how that's how Adolf Hitler took care of people he didn't like. Yeah, he just put them in a Volkswagen. They would just catch fire. Volkswagens were dangerous, but they were cheap. Now they're a collector's item, and they'll still catch fire on you. So you got to be careful. My dad used to tell this joke. So you guys have to understand. I'm gonna tell a boomer joke from a man who was born during the conclusion of World War II. Okay, and also a man who 20 years later was stationed in Germany. So this is 20 years post Hitler. And this was way before political correctness. Political correctness was something I remember my dad taught me about it in like 1987, that it was a thing. He's like, son, political correctness is what bullshit, and real men don't eat quiche. So this is the joke. My dad would say, "Hey, have you heard about the new Volkswagen?" I said, "No." He goes, "Yeah, it seats 40, 2 up front, 3 in the back, 35 in the ashtray." Ba-dum-bum.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go. Hitler made the Volkswagen. Yes, he did, and he took care of some peoples.
Yeah. Well, you know, as bad as people say child molesters are, you got to give them some credit. They do slow down in the school zone.
It's a horrible joke.
That's that's a joke. Oh my god. That's horrible.
Jason Daniel told me that joke.
Do you know where I heard that joke, Jeffrey?
For me?
Yes, from you.
Yeah. No, not everything I say is for public consumption. See, I was telling an anecdotal joke about something my father said with the point
I
of
know.
reference,
It
and
just it got to my head,
then
and
you had to tell a child molester
Yeah.
joke that I told you in current times. So that's I'm gonna have to disconnect your mic now permanently.
Yeah. Well, hey, apple falls far from the tree,
No,
or
no.
maybe not so far.
Yeah.
Maybe your dad was, because it takes hitting those jokes sometimes to be really fucking funny.
Yeah, but it takes the right audience, and we can't violate terms of service on this thing. So
Yeah, no, I'm.
no, we just
not,
said we got to stop.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it. You're the one talking.
Your stream has been canceled. No, we didn't say anything about chomos. I promise.
No,
I
what
said
happened
they're
is
bad. They're
I
bad.
said this, and then he said that, and then now I get to tell him I told you so, even though he doesn't understand.
All right.
That him is me.
Yes. Uh-oh. Don't go to that. Oh, that's the page of death. All right. So he said, she said, they said. What was I saying about my dad? I don't remember.
You were talking about your dad and just some of the anecdotes. How he was a fun guy, but
No, he wasn't very fun. He was kind of a dick.
Yeah, but tell him about like his philosophy on intelligent people and that can laugh, and I mean they just make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe the people listening would feel that way. Because I don't remember what did he say exactly about
About
watching funny movies or
So yeah, he liked Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Which is great.
which means you instantly realized that we were soulmates when we were just quoting the whole line without any mistakes on
Yeah.
our first date. Oh,
So I actually wrote to my father, and um, I sent him an email after 2004 when I moved to Tucson, and I quoted a Dumb and Dumber, and then he corrected me, which was really funny because he said people who don't like Dumb and Dumber are not smart enough to understand why it's funny. So if you don't understand what the play on words, then you're not going to find it entertaining. So to me, that was always kind of a litmus test for how bright somebody would be. The Farrelly brothers are really, really good writers, and if you don't know that there's such thing as the swallows of Capistrano, and those are the birds who migrate from South America up to San Juan Capistrano, and then build nests, lay their eggs, have new babies, and then they do that migration path every year, then you wouldn't get the line, I want to go someplace warm, someplace where the beer flows like wine, where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called Aspen. So, um,
Wait a second. I know what you. Sorry, I can't help it.
so you got to know what all the real things are in order to know where the humor is. So I'm writing an email to my dad, and this made me laugh. I mentioned that I had a rapist wit, which is a line in Dumb and Dumber, and I knew that it meant that you have to have a sharp wit, a rapier's wit. A rapier is a sword used in fencing. So a rapier's wit would be indicative of having being sharp or quick witted. So I quote the Dumb and Dumber line to my father, and I'm like, "Well, your son is he's got a rapist wit," and then whatever, exaltation, peace out. I'll talk to you later. And then it was just great because he replies back, and he's like, and I could hear my dad. He had certain characteristics, speech patterns, just like we all do. He would clear his throat, but I pause and then say his name. Like you could answer a phone and you knew it was him because you would answer and it was like he was waiting to hear you breathe first, and it was really strange. But he'd be like, "Hello, son. This is your dad." It always made me laugh. I'm like, "Yeah, I know, Dad. Yeah, I've got you on caller ID. Or you're calling from the home phone, which is the only number I've known since I was 7, 5626293." But it always made me laugh. "Hello, son. This is your dad." "Hi, Dad. What's going on?" "Well," and then you go on. His emails, I can hear his voice when in his writing, and he didn't pause for effect, but you can his patterns are very apparent. So, um, it was like, "Dear son," that post-nasal drip. He had allergies his whole life. In hindsight, he probably had celiac sprue, and that's probably what wiped him out. Just we'll go over that shortly, but same thing. Myself and Haley have. Son, just to clarify, thank you for your email first and foremost. It's always entertaining to hear the inane ramblings of my emotional fruitcake son. You're just like your mother, right? I think you meant to say rapier's wit, which would mean a rapier is a sword that is sharp, and not a rapist's wit. I just wanted to clear that up for you. Okay.
He's like actually thinking he's stopping you from making these horrible blunders in life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like,
He's like, I gotta help. Somebody's gotta help this kid out. Jesus.
Yeah, I loved it. So of course, then I got to come right back at him. He said, "Well, you recall Dumb and Dumber, right? I was literally just quoting a line from Dumb and Dumber, Father. That's it." The fact that you don't remember, that's on you. That's on you. But gotcha.
Just take 5 points off your guy.
Th- Thanks for letting me know that you think you're smarter than me. uh, but yeah, that was my dad. My mom would tell you that my dad corrected people all the time, and his corrections would start with, "Well, actually, is it?" Yeah. So you guys know me to be a know-it-all, right? There's no doubt I'm a know-it-all. Um, got it from my father, who was also a know-it-all. It wasn't until I was in my mid 20s that I started to poke holes in what his level of expertise really was. And then without having to say it out loud, he actually told me that I was sharper than he was.
Uh, you, you know, that reminds me of something my grandpa told my dad. He brought up, "Oh yeah, you're getting paid all this money to do not much." And my grandpa told him, "They don't pay me for what I do, kid. They pay me for what I know."
Hmm.
And it's true. Like, just to have an expert there, if you need it, it's a big deal.
Someday I would like to be paid just to exist, but currently I work. I work relatively hard.
Yeah,
Well,
you definitely have a awesome work ethic, much higher than mine.
I got the work ethic. Work ethic came from my dad. So, um, backstory on my dad. So, I knew him as the guy who worked for the government. I knew him as the guy who would follow his wife's instructions and come spank the butts if need be. I also knew him as the man who would teach me to do manly things. He would teach me how to fix cars, how to pack bearings on a wheel, how to, like, he was always making and building and fixing things. And I always thought I thought I hope that someday I have hobbies where I can do that, because I don't know how he does it. And I would ask him, like, Dad, why you're building like toy soldiers, like lead soldiers. I have some on the mantle behind me that he's made. You make boomerangs. You carve ducks. You build ships in a bottle. And this is trippy. Check this out. Perrin and I went over to the bookstore, and he was picking up a mic stand because they have music also. And Perrin comes around the corner and he says, "Here, I thought that you needed this." Mom, what do you think? What are the chances? What do you think? So, my dad would build ships in a bottle, and he was really lucky that he had a son who was class A quantity drunk. Because he'd come visit like every 6 months or so, and I would save all these bottles for him. He would describe the type of bottle he was looking for so he can build a ship in it, and then I'd be like, well, I need to go shopping and get some drunk on for my dad. I had a reason, and then he'd get there and be like, ooh, good bottles. Thank you, son. So with anything my dad took up as a hobby, building ships in a bottle, carving ducks, and like decoy ducks. Um, he would carve canes. I have a cane in the corner that he would carve a wizard into the face, and he was always doing stuff and always working with his hands. And he wasn't fixing something; he was making something. Sometimes breaking stuff, but I asked him, like, why. I said, why, you come home from work, we have dinner, Then you're like out in the garage and you're doing stuff. And he said, well, fuck, what am I going to do? Watch Entertainment Tonight with your mother for the next 40 fucking years? Just kidding, Mom. He really wasn't into PM magazine, but no, he said, he goes, I don't like working, son. I hate it. If I didn't have to work another day in my life, I wouldn't. I said, really? But you seem like you're so proud of it. He said, no, well, he goes, I'm a man of my word, and I think you do what you say you're going to do, and therefore, what am I going to do? Complain about it? There's no sense in bitching about it. It's not going to change the outcome. He had a very Buddhist kind of philosophy. Kind of, he's very Zen with things like, hey, this is how it is. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna flip out? Is that gonna change it? No, it's not going to. So it would always surprise me for me to hear him say that he despised things that he did so well. And I think that I like working. I like I do, but at the same time when I start to think about it, I like solving problems the same as he. And that's why he spent so much time in the garage. I said, well, why are you always tinkering on stuff? You're always doing that. And he said, well, he says, I go to work so I can provide for my family. And he said, the only legacy that I truly have to leave behind when I die is how I raise my kids. So this is my priority. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't do it. He said, I spend time in the garage because that's time for me to do things that I like. And if I don't do things that I like, then I'm not going to be happy. And I didn't get that like as a kid. I didn't even get that for like 40 years. But it makes sense. It there's a saying that I've borrowed from others. That is a never make your woman your mission in life. Make your mission your mission. And my once spouse, I made her my mission, and it ended for a reason. Because the things that I liked most about me and the things that she liked most about me, eventually, when it all becomes about her, and I'm not saying this is her demand, this is just what happened. Uh, she's not that interesting to her that she doesn't want everything to be about her. And if you're a man and you become all about your spouse and you don't have things that you like to do independent of them, you're not going to be very interesting anymore. Because the reality is, we spend a third of our life working to provide money so we can spend a third of our life sleeping, and then maybe a third of our life doing something with some of that money, but not a lot. Because just to think how much it costs, you spend a third of your life to pay for objects and housing and everything around you and electricity and all these things that's 24 hours a day. It's a 24-hour day cost, but maybe you only use it for a third of your life. But trippy. My dad was a wise man. So a little backstory on John Adams. John was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas. He's a Southern boy, and he grew up. His father, Ralph William Adams, was both a dairy farmer. I believe he took it over from his father. I believe his father was Seth, my great grandfather. And then I believe there's lineage beyond that side on the Adams is non existent. So if I recall, Seth was like Civil War era orphan, adopted by the Choctaw Indian tribe. So we don't even know if Adams is like a birth name or if it was a given name, like if it was, adopted. Because Seth was an orphan, the Choctaw Nation, where they were taking in white kids in the mid to late 1800s to raise them, and then they would grow up and go on their way. So I'd like to say that I'm like 1/16th Choctaw Indian, just because I had some relatives who were raised as orphans, but we're still pretty sure they're white. So dad was born. His dad ran a gas station in Arkansas, and then a dairy farm that they had taken over for, like I said, his grandfather. And that's how my dad spent his formative teenage years. And he'd be the same age as Bill Clinton, actually, if he was still alive today. So that was actually interesting watching him be shocked that somebody was his age exactly in the White House. You know what's crazy is we still haven't taken the White House back from the boomers yet. We haven't. I mean, we had Obama for a little bit, but we have the young guys, the guys who were, of age. They did it for a little while. But man, we keep putting like the 70 and 80-year-old people. They're getting older and older. What is that about? Why? Why are we still electing those people? Why are we electing the crypt keeper? And regardless of your politics, why are we putting 75, 80-year-old people into positions where you should be sharp and you should be able to make decisions for the populace, which is not representative of 80-year-olds? I'm sorry, you're a very small percentage of the population, because this is a fact. After the age of 80, you have a 400% greater chance of dying the next day than not. It's just facts. So it seems crazy, right? How old is Biden? 78? 79? That's crazy. He is far less likely to wake up tomorrow than not wake up tomorrow. Lunatic. But anyway, old people. Hey, you gotta love them. Can't shoot them. Right, Mom? Am I right? So, Dad was born on the dairy farm, and then I believe around 1956, moved out of Arkansas and moved to Northern California, which is Chico, Redlands, Orland, Capay. But family wound up in Chico State. Huge party school, but not in 1956. So the Adamses and the Carrs family moved there. My grandpa Ralph William married my grandma Cecilia Juanita, who was not Spanish. She was white from Arkansas. She was the fourth born of 14, and she said that it was not uncommon for the doctor to name a child. But I said, yeah, I understand if it was like child number 14, you're out of ideas, but child number 4, you wouldn't think your parents would have given that up so quickly. Cecilia Juanita. She was a cool cat. My grandma was super cool. That one. We're just talking about that side of the family today. So, Dad had 3 brothers. One, I think it went Ralph Jr., and then James was the next one, and then my father. It was like, so they're born like 43, I think 43, 46. No, 43, 40. How'd it go? 43, 44, 46. I don't know, something like that. They're a couple years apart, and then Steve Steve was born like 1952, I think, something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to guess. But brother number 2 passed away when he was about 18 months old, Jimmy. So then it was just 3 boys left. So they head out to Northern California, which is the happening place to be. And they slowly matriculate down to Southern California. Encinitas, North County.
Real quick, I remember being stationed in San Diego. I always heard Santee was referred to as Clanty.
Yeah.
Because that's where, like, I don't know, the Aryans were.
That was the assumption, which I always thought was funny. They call it either Clanty or Santucky. Now we were bordered by Lakeside. Mom, you're correcting me. Kindergarten in Chico. Okay. All right. Cool. I don't have all the time frames. I was gonna pull up ancestry.com, but I couldn't get my fucking microphone to work, so like forget it. What was I looking at? Oh yeah. Planty. So they get a little further south, wind up in North County, San Diego, and mom and he go to the same high school but don't know each other, and they meet up and they fall in love, and the story's the story. No, that her name is Kaylee, Mom. That's why it says Kaylee Hargraves. That's her actual name, not Lisa. She's just calling you Mom because I'm like a dad to her. Not like a daddy, but like a dad. Maybe sometimes like a daddy. So, this mythic creature of my dad who could fix anything, who was strong and resilient. Like my mom's literally like, she's giving me like the specifics. So Ralph is 80 years old now. Crazy. Wow. And then 10 years difference. Dope. Okay. Your Uncle Steve took a bad fall and he's in the hospital. I think he got out. Yeah, he did. I think there's like a 15-second delay on the chat and the text. So, um, you're giving me the answers to something that I like talked about a minute ago. That's cute. I like it. Keep sharing. Keep sharing. I'm okay with it. So, the mythical creature. Years later, I find out that my dad was a human, and I found out that he wasn't just a man who knew how to fix things and work on cars and tinker in the garage and whatnot, but he was a young man who had dreams, right? And I remember when I started to find out that he had been a boy like me, I didn't really believe it. I thought it was like bullshit. It didn't make any sense to me because he was dad, so therefore he can't have he couldn't have gotten in trouble. He couldn't have been screwing around at school. There's no way because he was never my age. Huh. Don't lie to me. So I figured dad was just A1 for the draft, Vietnam War. Instead of getting drafted, he signed up for the Air Force, went to Germany, Bitburg, Germany. He got engaged to my mom before he left, I believe. Mom, you can feel free and correct the story if you'd like. And then flew back on leave. Either, I don't know if it was from Germany or if it was from boot camp. And then mom and he got married July. I always fuck this up. I think July 8th, 1967. seven, I think 7, 8, 6, 7. I think that's the right date. Um, and then he shipped back to Germany, and then 6 months or so later, got mom to come join him in Germany. So I thought that that was the oldest story there was, that dad had joined the military and then got out, and then he worked for the government. Good night, Kaylee. Thanks for tuning in. So my dad told me that he had dreams and he had things that he wanted to do, and he wanted to be um, he wanted to be a biologist. He liked marine biology, and he loved herpetology. He would go out to the desert and he would capture rattlesnakes, and he would tag them, weigh them, and then let them go, and then each season go back and recapture them and check their growth patterns and their rates. He could tell based on the weather, based on the amount of rain, how the snakes were doing, and he would make predictions. He loved animals like a lot, and it makes sense why we had so many animals growing up. We were basically allowed to have everything. Um, he worked for an exotic pet store where he would go, like people would get these exotic big cats, like these ocelots and like pumas and stuff, and think that they were gonna stay little and cute forever, and then the feral cat would flip the fuck out and turn on the human, and they would then call this exotic pet store that my dad contracted with, and they send him out like, hey, here's an address. They have a puma. It's up in the closet. It's trying to kill and eat the owners. So he would go out and, with a bit of rope and a bag, he would corner a wild fucking puma and tie it up, bag it and tag it and drag it out, throw it in the back of his car and take it wherever you take him, right? He would also go hunting for lizards and turtles. He was a smuggler. These are great things I found out about him. He would take a water tanker truck down to Mexico, as if they were bringing water to the poor people. And what they actually did was they had cut the top portion of the water tanker truck off, and like a lid that was detachable, and then they would collect turtles and fish and all just sorts of reptiles, reptiles and amphibians from Mexico, and then take them back and sell them to the pet stores. So he was smuggling wildlife, which I think is awesome. Like all these things, they come out over time when you're telling stories with your dad. Like you smuggled animals. You were like the fucking crocodile hunter. Were you sticking your finger in the puma's cloaca just to get him ornery? And he'd tell me I was stupid, but whatever. He got out of the Air Force. He became a typewriter repairman. Yeah, like the clamshell typewriter repairman. I said, why the fuck would you want to do that? I said, if you were in school for biology and you like marine biology and herpetology, and that was your passion, and you did that forever, and then you join the Air Force and you become a radar tech, and you do your 4 years and get out. And I said, then you got certified as a typewriter repairman. Like, it just seems weird. That's a weird job. Like, how do you go from your dreams are like, I want to pursue biology, to I have to join the Air Force so I, don't get drafted to go to fight in Vietnam directly, which is he was definitely a patriot, but he was also practical. You looked at the odds by 1967, 68. We knew what was going on, right? We knew what was going on. Odds were not looking good. And how does that how does that take the passion for life out of you? That you want to be that you're willing to be a typewriter repairman. But then I get it. I 100% get it. I literally have done the same things. There's been my dreams and my passion, and then there's been my responsibilities and my obligations. I never wanted to be an insurance agent. I never wanted to be a call center manager. I never wanted those things never entered my, yeah. You know, when you're a little kid and like kindergarten, first grade, and you get on a big piece of butcher paper, and they would draw an outline of you, and then you would cut it out, and then you would decorate it to be you when you grew up. You know, so everybody had like firemen and badges and stuff like that. Well, I never drew like what a pocket protector and a tie on my guy. I never thought I want to work in the office. Never. I did know that I wanted to entertain people. I did. I just didn't know if there could be any money in it, and so far there's not. But that's okay. There is money in it. Yeah, for all the technology I buy that doesn't work. So, Dad's gonna be a typewriter repairman. I don't even know if he ever even beyond his trade school. I don't even know if he ever took any jobs doing it. And then he, thanks, Mom. I was about to say that. Mom's trying to beat me to the story. So, Mom says typewriter repairman was for 2 months till he got work on North Island in the federal government. Yeah. So he got Pop's got a job working in the electronics. It was like since he was he had a background and he was mechanically inclined, and then he was a radar technician. He would pull the radars out of F4 Phantoms and then break them down and then build them back up and then put them back in. So he had that background. I believe a buddy of his was working out on North Island and said, "Hey, John, you should check it out. See if you want to do this work." And he was like, "Yeah. What does it pay? What are the benefits? Okay, I'm in." And it was just like that. I'm in. Cool. Uh, and yeah, he made a career out of it. 42 years. 42 years. Impressive. So, what do you want to know about my dad? I'll tell you some things. He was a Virgo, August 31st. If you read what Virgos are like, well, it fits. He married a Sagittarius, my mother. You know what Sagittarius are like, then you know what I'm like, then you know what she's like, then you can understand why I tormented her and she smacked me a lot. It was like a competition. He would say, "You're just like your mother." That's the fucking reason. It's true. I've dated a handful of Virgos, and they're like they're very practical and very chill. Like they're probably really good for me, but being as a human being who likes living on the edge, I need a little more like psychotic. I need a Gemini. Have dated a couple of Geminis that were just whoo fucking. Mm, it's not nice to say like crazier than a shithouse rat, which is a term my dad would use, or she's stacked like a brick shithouse. I did that. I had a hard time with that one. Look at hey, see that one over there? She's stacked like a brick shithouse. I always just think that lady looks like shit. Like, I didn't have a correlation. You know, he didn't explain it. You know, an outhouse. You know, an outhouse like a privy. You know, the place where you take a shit outside but not quite outside. It's away from the house. It's often made from bricks. So they stack bricks. So I'm just saying she's stacked. By stacked, I mean she has big tits. All right, do you get it? Like if he had just told me that up front, I would have been okay. But no, he thought women look like shit. I don't know. I can be a very literal human being. My mother used to tell me, she's gonna love this. My mother used to tell me that I was priceless, and I thought that meant worthless. And she would laugh like it was something positive, like, you're priceless. And I thought I had no value. And I would like secretly go cry myself to sleep, saying my mom thinks I'm worthless. I think I'm less literal now for sure. I think I get the subtleties of language now. First time somebody told me that I should be in sales because I was a great bullshitter, I was like 25 years old. And I was offended. I was like, I'm not full of shit. I pride myself on being honest, although I do use simile and hyperbole often in order to punch my stories up, but I don't lie. And they're like, no, you're good at having conversations and talking with people, like bullshitting with them. That's a positive. That's what we meant. And I was like, oh, and then I walked away and they're like, that guy's fucking worthless. And I knew what that meant. It wasn't priceless. People are so mean. So mean. So Jeffrey banned Kaylee. Oh, I didn't mean to. What did I hit? That's unfortunate. I I clicked on Hey Kaylee and I banned her. I'm gonna have to figure out how to unfuck that. Oh, oh no. Sorry, kiddo. Oh, here she is. All right, let's see if I can unban her. Friends, timeout, mod, unban. Okay. Sorry, I had to unban her. So you're lucky, Kaylee. You're lucky I unbanned you, bitch. I have the power. I've got the power. I've got the power. All right. So check it out. Life lessons from my dad. Cooperate and graduate. Cooperate and graduate. My father put that saying, he printed it out on like one of those dot matrix printers, the ones that go brrr, 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 and you know, like they're all attached by the ribbon. Karen, you remember those? When you have printer paper that had the the, the spools on the side, and your printer paper would just be like one big long sheet, and you'd have to tear off the pieces.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that was very not neat and annoying.
My dad made a banner. So since the paper would stick together,
Yeah,
you can make a whole banner really
Yeah.
easily. And he put it up in my bedroom and it said cooperate and graduate. And I said, well, what does this mean? And he said, well, once you figure it out, I'll let you take it down.
Oh, that's so smart.
So it was up there for like 3 years.
In fact, it's still up there. You need to. Why don't you go ahead and text your mom right now? Let her know.
Yeah, if they hadn't sold the house in 2007, it would have still been there. But no, I figured it out. So I had behavioral issues. Okay, now, not I wouldn't say like ADD. I need to be medicated, but more like psychotic asshole. I think the world is my playground.
Kind of like what your Hunter used to do to you when you were young.
No, Hunter was actually like ADHD.
More, he wants to kill himself.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was very cognizant of screwing with people. Hunter was very cognizant.
Isn't it true though that we are that, like, as young people cooperate and graduate? I would start applying it to like specific situations. Well, cooperate about what was it? Not like a philosophy to take, and graduate is a huge helping hand right there too. But as a young kid, that would be like, whatever, Dad.
Yeah.
That looks retarded to me.
Yeah, it was just messing with my Lamborghini Countach, my Ferrari Testarossa, and I believe a pet.
With the chicken bikini.
No, I wasn't allowed to have that.
Oh, I had that.
But I did have a picture of Luke Perry from 90210. He played
Ooh.
Dylan. I had a picture of Luke Perry on the back of my wall that my buddy Bob got me. It said he's so dreamy. He wrote on it. So I had a poster of Luke Perry. That was funny. I think I was like 16 when I got that.
Yeah, it was after my parents were divorced, and my dad, it was just his place. At that point, we were allowed to have pictures of chicks in bikinis from, Sports Illustrated, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was surprisingly the only thing that we ever put up on our room. Didn't matter if we had friends over, females, they all got the same sort of impression of how we wanted, the Long Boys wanted to represent their living space.
With boobs. Yeah, no, my dad was he was pretty conservative about those things. I remember he got a subscription to Playboy, and he was like, "Don't renew it, no thanks." It wasn't his thing. He didn't
Hey.
he didn't. I mean, he recognized if somebody was attractive. I remember him checking out my girlfriends when I was a teenager. He'd be like looking down the hallway, like
he would be checking out your.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Hey, I got a nice ass on that one." I'm like, "Hey, thanks, Dad." But otherwise, he would always represent himself as a stand-up guy with some character, strong character.
Yeah.
So he didn't think.
Well, it's interesting. His character takes so long to actually develop, and then to develop truly, it's a consistency.
Yeah.
And then when other people notice it, it's merely them just noticing who you are.
Yeah.
If you're just behaving a way to get a reaction or to get some respect, then that's the wrong motivation. It's should be done. Characters like traits should be done for their own sake.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting you say that because he's the type of guy that he wouldn't care what you think. He's still gonna do what's right.
Yeah. He was like, "Do what you say and say what you do." Like, just
it's not hard.
Be reliable, be consistent, do what you say you're gonna do.
Even to your kids, that was something I had to learn. I would get excited and get my daughter excited and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna really try to come up for spring break," and then I wouldn't have the money, or it just didn't work out with getting time off or whatever. And after a couple of times of that, I started to realize that, you know what? She loves me no matter what. I don't need to promise her the moon. I just need to do what I say. And that's really it.
Yeah.
And I hope she appreciates it. I know I respect myself more.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Being apart from your kids is hard in any capacity. It doesn't matter if you're 20 miles or 2,000 miles. Being apart from your kids sucks, and feeling like you're failing them. I found with my own experience, and I know Perry and I shared that with you, was that their expectations are different than what we think their expectations are. They're amazingly resilient. I didn't start having a relationship with Kelsey until she was 16, and it was as if
they live in the moment really.
It was as if
just like
I'd always been there.
It's like when you're a kid, it must. I mean, nothing in your world is designed by you, or very little. It's most of it designed by your parents, and then just small aspects, have your flavor. And so that, I don't know if that contributes to kids being so well at living in the moment and letting really messed up crap, affect them during the present.
Hmm.
Because when they're older and later, it always comes back up. But yeah, they're almost like dogs at that, you know, at that stage. Like dogs are really good at living in the moment. Like I could slap Tink in the head and then like a minute later be like, I'm just kidding. She'd be like, oh yeah, what's up? What's up?
Yeah, children are hard to break.
Yeah.
They are.
It's almost
It's an
a
eventual.
heartbreaker, isn't it?
It's an.
Like they've been put to the test. It just freaking it just grates on my soul.
Yeah, I've had to witness my kids going from what they thought was an idyllic life with their mom and dad to finding out that that was 100% apparently not true. And through therapy, through attempted suicides, through all sorts of horrible shit that they've had to endure because of something that they didn't bring upon themselves. Um, I'd have to say that I wish I could have taken that away from them, that taken that pain away. But that's the hardest thing about being a parent is you want to take that pain away.
All you can do is function while you're in that same broken place.
Right.
Because I know personally your story, and I know that was a few years ago was extremely tough. It was tougher on you than anybody.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like as a parent, you have to set that aside when you're with them and just show them this is how, you know, there's some things that aren't an option. Like you've told me, you've parented to your children that, you know, suicide is not an option. If you have a beer with your friends, you know, whatever, I won't be happy to. But these things are not even in the realm of possibility, and you've just completely taken them off the table. And I like that, and you further reinforced it by modeling that when you didn't feel any need to go on, and you're like, I'm sure there were times you were like, look, kids, life sucks for me too, but you know what? I love you, and that's never gonna change ever. So,
Yeah.
what can we do to focus on getting through today?
That's
It's
like,
interesting how well I feel like I know you. You know what I mean? I feel like I can see back in time, and I know how things
yeah. You're one of the few, buddy, one of the few who knows the levels of struggle. You know, it's not it's not a narrative that you could share with a lot of people. And
yeah.
you know, I wouldn't want people to see what I've seen or witness what I've witnessed, because
You know, people,
at the end
yeah,
of at the end of the day, you know, we get better, we move on, we heal, and moments don't have to make us that.
yeah,
Our dark moments don't have to make us.
no, and you're so good at that. You've really taught me, uh, not so much taught me, I'd say reintroduced me to life and dreaming and just having fun again because I almost was at a point where I was like, look, you need to turn down that rock and roll music and get off my lawn right now. No, I'm talking to you. Get off my lawn. I'm going to drag you out by your hair. And then I had to realize that that's kind of the bummer outlook that I had taken on, and that's not okay. That you know you just have to realize that regardless of how you feel or whatever mood you're in, you're expected to treat people respectfully and like an adult.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't mean you can't say, "Hey, I'm not feeling well" or whatever. But
Mm.
you don't just yell at somebody to turn down their music and get off your lawn,
My mom did. My mom,
unless you're Mrs. Adams.
yeah, she would yell at people in the cul-de-sac. Turn your fucking music off. Those Mexicans across the street won't turn their fucking music off. They put their trucks out in the driveway with the doors wide open, playing their fucking music.
You're like, they're from the
And
Middle East, Mom.
No, they were Mexican. It was true. And then they're not even outside. Shut the fucking music off. I'm going to call the police. Years later.
No, that's understandable.
Years later, I introduced her to Lisa. And my mom was like, I used to hate Mexicans. But
You mean your Mexican wife says that?
no, my mom said that.
Oh, your mom
to
said
my Mexican girlfriend. She says, I used to hate Mexicans, but now I found the Lord again, and Jesus taught me to not have hate in my heart. And
as long as they're keeping the music down.
Yeah, as long as they keep the music down. So afterwards, I was like, "Hey, honey, what did you think about my folks?" So, oh my God, your dad is the sweetest dude in the world, and your mom's a racist. Woo! Just like my mom. My mom's a racist too. I said, "No, mom.
About what,
Mom's a former racist. She found Jesus."
Hey, hold on. So there was a few weeks ago, Jeff sees some guy just needed a few bucks, was out of gas or something, and for some reason, Jeff has a big heart, but for some reason, he actually, you know what? I am going to be nice. I'm going to give him a couple dollars to get gas. And so he gives this guy a couple bucks. And the guy was like, "All right, on. Thanks, brother. Hey, by the way, did you just get out?" Get out of work? Or get out of where? "Oh, UAV, brother." "You mean Aryan?" "No, I'm here with my half Mexican children, but thanks, man. Go ahead." And the guy couldn't comprehend a non-Aryan giving him a few bucks.
Yeah.
And it still makes me laugh anytime me or Jeff will say to the other, "Hey, right on, brother.
Right on, brother. UAB.
Hey, brother. You just get out."
So for a while, before I bought my motorcycle, I had grown the hair to approximately 8 to 10 inches ish on top. Well, it still is actually. I just forget. But it was longer, and then the beard was down to here, and I can braid it in 2 braids, and then the mustache up to here. So, yeah. Now that I have the motorcycle, I feel like I look less like a biker than before I got it, but yeah. So I help a guy out. He thinks I'm an ex-con and that I'm an Aryan. I'm like, no, not so much. Neither.
Yeah, at the end, he's like,
I work in
"All
finance."
right, kind of regretting doing the good deed now, but thanks. I appreciate you.
It's all good. He's all, I'll pay you back, brother. I'm like, oh, we're good, man. God
You're
bless you.
like, "No, you won't know how to get a hold of me. I promise."
Yeah, don't worry. You don't need my number. You do not. Good luck, sir. The kids are like, who is that? Is that your friend? I'm like, he was a racist.
Yeah, that's what he said specifically.
Yeah,
These kids right away.
He hates Mexicans and blacks and stuff like that. They're like, how do you know? Did you talk about that? I'm like,
in that 2-minute conversation, did you talk about that, Dad?
Yeah, Dad, you find out so much about people so fast. I mean, I do. Yes, I do.
That one was, I promise, unintentional.
I just tried to help a dude out who needed a couple bucks.
I'm usually not good to give anybody coming up while I'm parked or getting out of my car anything except a middle finger,
Yeah.
or just please leave me alone. That's like, Jesus. And to the point where if somebody's just asking for directions and this has happened, I'm like, "No, I don't have any money." And they're like, "Oh, no, I just wanted to know." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those annoying people. You're a normal person. Okay, let me go ahead and shift my lens." But yeah, I'm that guy too. So I mean, but I guess there's times where maybe, I don't know, I just smoked a doobie and I'm happy, or I don't know. I just feeling generous, but I can see myself making an exception at some point, and that's kind of
You think like some
just.
point in your life, you're like 41 years old. You're thinking at some point you're going to be accommodating to a stranger without biting their
Where
head off.
I'm the guy walking up.
Right.
Whatever. That's funny.
So our personalities are a little off from each other. But we have this we have
Dichotomy of leadership.
we have this uh, these core characteristics that make us absolute great friends. A lot of it is compassion, understanding, sense of humor, patience. I wouldn't say I feel like I'm pretty patient. I feel like he's not pretty patient, but it depends on the time. It depends on what's going on. But
I'm pretty.
he's right. He's pretty. He's an athlete. I'm a fathlete. So there are some things that we don't have in common. But in general, worldview, things that are important to us, priorities, very similar. Very, very similar. But yeah, he's more likely to jump in somebody's face and
Well, and we realize that we're very imperfect.
no, I said that you
Oh,
were
me.
you were
Oh,
imperfect. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't.
Well,
Don't
only if
exclude
they
it.
need help or if there's a car about to hit them.
Or if anyone's like making eye contact with you and you don't want it to happen,
Well,
or if they linger for too long in your general direction, like little things like that.
right. Like those are things that are clearly tattooed on my forehead.
You would think you would think sometimes you act like you just got out of prison. You realize that, like you,
yeah.
having not ever been to prison.
Let me put it this way: those are times I shouldn't leave the house.
FYI.
And just to in my defense, in the time Jeff's known me, it's only been like once or twice, and I'm talking. You've known me for 2 years. We haven't hung out that long, but
Right.
you've seen me act normal at work every day forever.
I know. If I thought that you were always if you were always on attack, I would just be exhausted by it. I'd just be like,
well, yeah.
that's enough. But instead, I just like I walk like 10 paces behind, and I watch you just get when you're in a bad mood. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Well, how
the
about you?
last one was my neighbor
Yeah.
when we were pulling up the other night.
Fuck you. And I'm just like, wow, what's going on, guys?
Well, no, I actually didn't cuss at him.
You
He was
didn't.
like just staring at us. It's like midnight or 12:30. It's on a weekday, and he's just sitting there.
It was 8 o'clock.
Staring at
It was
us, and he
it
won't
was
stop.
8
And
p.m.
finally, I'm like, "Can I help you?" Oh no, I'm just seeing who's parking. I'm like, okay, it's me and my friend. I live in 18103. Is there anything else I can do for you? Would you like to take a picture? You
Yeah.
see this car? It's here just about every freaking day.
True.
And he was just like, oh, all right. And I was like, and then it kept bothering me as I'm getting my stuff out. And so then I was like,
Then you barked
and then I
like
barked
over your
at him.
shoulder.
I was like, yeah, like you really didn't know that this is the same car you see daily. Okay, go ahead and be an asshole. Oh, you know how long I've lived here? I'm like, you know how much I give a fuck? I'm here now, and you're gonna have to deal with it. But you know what? You got a nice little garden out there.
Exactly.
If I ever need some vegetables, I'll be sure to go over there and take some.
Nice garden. Yeah, you give him a compliment at the end.
Yeah, I just said
You
nice
got
garden.
you got a nice garden there though. Keep it up.
It was just, I don't know, things like that are so aggravating because
Yeah,
why do you have to like
humans standing in their own yards making contact with you visually? Fuck them.
No, it's like we're like you're just staring at us like you got some sort of problem. Like,
what if he's special needs?
well, then I would have said, can somebody put this retard on a leash? Oh, I'm sorry. That's one of those little shut you down things.
Yeah. No.
My ex-girlfriend was a special needs teacher in Coronado,
My ex-wife
California,
was, so.
and hence the word ex. And I wasn't allowed to say that stuff, so
Yeah.
I'm a little repressed. I apologize. But
My
if
my
he was
my ex
special
was
needs, I would
forever.
have felt I would have turned it around so quick.
I think he was though. That's what I'm saying.
What?
I think he was.
Really?
Yeah, like
Okay.
north
So
of
is
north
his neck also broken in
north
a cast where he can't turn it?
north of Corky, but south of he was a little off. He was off.
Huh.
I wouldn't say like full blown like autistic or something, but he had a glimmer and a little kind of compunction about him that like yeah I don't think he had like social awareness
Well,
like
yeah, because you don't ask two perfect strangers who are pulling up in two separate cars.
eh,
Oh
eh,
yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's parking here is lit. What did he say?
yeah I just stand here and I make sure I keep an eye on who's parking where as like he's neighborhood watch
Yeah,
from his backyard.
which is already that answer is the most annoying thing I've ever heard on top of it.
But
So
that's why I
that
think
doubly like triggered me. Like, oh, okay, you're keeping an eye. Here's a nickel. Go get some
but
Windex
that
and wipe the windshield down while you're standing there. All right,
yeah
that's Nissan. Okay,
I think he was in the Section 8 housing right there, and I think that
I'm
he
in Section 8.
no, but that you are special needs. That's different.
Well, yeah, I'm special needs because I don't have as much money as, uh, let's say, my old employer, Josh Melberg.
No, not on the podcast. Um, I don't know. I think we go back and we park in front of there again, and then we test it out, and we see whether or not he's just weird and he should be yelled at more, or if we're gonna feel a little bit embarrassed.
Well,
Because
hopefully,
I wasn't watching. All I heard was your reaction, and I was watching you. I
yeah,
was like,
I know you
why
did.
are you what are you mad at? I'm not even sure. I
No,
didn't even
and that's
care. I
what's
just
even
follow
more
along.
annoying, right? As I'm sitting there, like, giving this guy kind of a piece of my mind and just, you know,
And he gave it back.
we're humbly, you know, discussing our different worldviews, like adults. And I look over and Jeff is just like intrigued by me. Like, huh, this is just interesting.
Yeah.
What is that makes him up? And then I'm just like,
Hmm.
so was that thumbs up, thumbs down? You support that? You don't? You're just like, oh, it's just you. I don't know. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's still following me. So,
Yeah. I had some groceries. I was just following behind a little bit.
and I do admit
Just,
that that was just a real perfect storm of bad moods and
he's not always like that. Otherwise, I wouldn't hang out with him. If he was always like lashing out at me or around me or to people, I'd be like, all right,
you're right.
go live in a
Well,
box. You'll be
you
happier.
have to behave in a civilized society like an adult, right?
That's the idea. That's a good segue actually. Kind of back to my pops. He he was a stoic. So the Stoics of
Women love a stoic.
yeah, the Stoics they didn't get overly excited by much. Didn't get overly emotional about much. They uh, they were known to be philosophers who understood that wherever you go, there you are, and this is the world, and it is what it is. So, uh, exerting a lot of energy about it isn't going to change it. So he would tease me because he says you're an emotional fruitcake like your mother because I am emotional, and then but when we would talk about things, he I remember the first time he told me he said I have a really short temper, like really short, and I said well not shorter than mom's, and he goes oh no way shorter than mom's, and I said how that can't be true
Never seen you mad.
because I don't see you get upset. And he said, well, that's different. And he goes, my fuse is like, and I want to lose my shit and destroy everyone in my path, but I choose not to. Something interesting about that generation specifically, but I guess it's not just generational, but you know, post-war baby boomers who were raised by depression era parents had this kind of you know, you didn't say I love you to your kids much. There wasn't much physical, hugs and a lot of physicality. There was a lot of, they came from their parents where they had 14 kids because 10 of them would die at some point. So there was a high mortality rate. Children were just not disposable, but they were replaceable because of childhood diseases and things like that. So there wasn't there was a different type of attachment. Now, my father didn't lack that. He was he was empathetic, and he was kind, and he was loving, and you know there was nothing, I think, better or more affirming to be a young man or even a boy, and be able to lay my head on his chest and feel comforted by that. And I can remember the last time I did that, and I think I was about 24, where I sat next to him on the couch at his house, and I laid my head on his chest, and I remember thinking I could hear his heartbeat, and I could smell what my dad smells like. Kind of smelled like, I would say, like, he never smelled like BO, but he would sweat a lot working in the garage. But it always smelled clean. It smelled a little bit like pennies, a little coppery maybe, if he was working in the garage sweaty. And it was also like grease from the cars, and he smelled like a man. Just maybe a little Mitchum or some Dry Idea deodorant, maybe a little hint of Brute, but not much. He wasn't a big cologne wearer because it bothered his nose. But my dad smelled an Irish Spring soap, and he also used Johnson and Johnson baby shampoo for his hair. All right, what a man! So yeah, that's what Dad smelled like. And I remember when I was like 24, and I had this opportunity to lay on the couch next to him and put my head on his chest, and I had a distinct feeling that that would be probably the last time that came up. And he didn't pass away then. He passed away when I was 36. So it was like another 10, 12 years later. But even then, it's like you realize you're growing up, and you want to break those chains of being a child, and you want to become a man. And then at the same time, there's this kind of terror and ultimate sadness about having to grow up, because those things that were reassuring, and those things that made you know that you weren't alone in the dark, and that things are going to be okay, were things like your dad saying prayers with you every night before bed, and your dad tucking you in, and as a boy. And this is not a mom story night, so mom, don't take it personally. I'm just telling dad stories right now. But that meant a lot to me. That was very reassuring. But I remember these pivotal moments through life where he gave me the choice to continue a ritual or to end it, depending on what I wanted to do. And I remember when he said, "Well, your sister is doesn't want me to say prayers with her anymore. So I wanted to give you um, I wanted to give you that choice. And I think she must have been 12 ish, going on 13. And I was like 10, 11. And my sister did not like me, and we did not get along. I could count until I was like in my 20s how many times we got along, and it wasn't much. So I also wanted to impress her. I wanted to grow up like her. I wanted to be like she she despised me for being a kid, which was weird because she was just a kid. I guess that happens. It doesn't happen too much with my kids. Hunter doesn't like Hannah very much. Her personality irritates the shit out of him, and I can see why. she's she's amazing, but she's quirky, and actually she acts like Hunter did. And Hunter just doesn't like to be reminded of it. But I remember he said, Jenny doesn't want me to see prayers with her anymore, and I respect that, and I just wanted to check with you and see what you wanted to do. It's your choice. And I remember I wanted to be accepted by my sister somehow, and I thought that maybe she wouldn't think that I was such a baby. And I remember I made that decision, and I told my dad a lie, and I said, "Yeah, I'm good. I don't need you to say prayers with me anymore." And I that moment like broke me. It was I mean, I guess he did the right thing. What, I don't know. I force my kids to do things, whether they like it or not. I could be doing the wrong thing. But I remember I made that decision, and I felt like I rejected my father and I rejected my childhood because I wanted my sister to not hate me. And I cried, and I sobbed because I didn't want that to go away. I was 11 years old. I didn't. I needed my dad to tuck me in and tell me everything was going to be okay. But he gave me the right, or gave me the vote. So unfortunately, I made the decision to impress someone who was never going to be impressed by me anyway.
But you realize,
Yeah. Well,
and for any women out there, I will tell you a secret. Men only care about one thing, and they just want your respect. It doesn't matter how much you love them. Doesn't matter. None of that matters if you don't respect them.
Yeah.
It is ingrained. We need respect.
Yeah. True. I wanted my sister to respect me. I did. I wanted her to respect me, and I pushed away my father. And I think it broke his heart that night too, because two of his kids had up and revolted on something that he had been doing for a decade plus. And then he had my little sister Reagan left. And I don't know how long she lasted, but she's about 4.5 years younger than I. But I remember those were defining moments. My dad was good about defining moments, letting me know when they were there and when they were happening.
Yeah.
And I remember when I had to make a decision that I was ready to give my Mickey Mouse, that I had this mouse. He's not really a Mickey. He's made in New Knickerbocker Company of New Jersey, Animals of Distinction, and he's a mouse that I got when I was born. Had a photo of me in its lap, and it's not a very big stuffed animal. I was a tiny dude. I know that much about it because when Hunter was born on my birthday, 29 years and 29 minutes later, I went out of my mom gave me that Mickey, my mouse that I had until I slept with him until I was about 12, at which point I had to leave behind childish things again. So I left behind prayers with dad, and then I gave Mickey to mom, and mom held on to him until my son was born, and then gave me him in a display box with a picture of me when I was 5 days old, in the lap of this stuffed animal that was my security blanket. It was my father was my security blanket, and then it was Mickey was my security blanket. By the time I was 12 years old, I had voluntarily given up both for a woman, but with the understanding that it was time to grow up. And Mom, thank you for holding on to him, holding on to Mickey for me. Hannah still has him, actually. Hannah has both. I found years later when Hunter was 3, I found the exact mouse, Knickerbocker Company of New Jersey, Animals of Distinction, in pristine condition. Never had been vomited on, never had been stepped on, never had his ears pulled out. This thing in pristine condition. And I think I paid like $50 for it with like $30 shipping and handling. And I got that thing sent out for, I think it was Hunter's 3rd birthday, which is pretty crazy. It's upsetting to you that your kids don't love each other. Well, I would say that's not true. At least not for me. I love my sisters. I love both of them. I even tell them occasionally. Now, do we have a close relationship? No. Are we involved in each other's lives on a regular basis? No. But I would have to assume that we are a product of the environment that we were raised, because my kids are really close, and I force the issue with them. I demand that they respect each other. I fucking command it. They will literally suffer the wrath of their fucking father, even today, 18, 15, 14, if they are disrespectful to each other in my presence. If they are anything other than loving and kind and compassionate and sweet, I will fucking end them, because I have told them since they were little. I said, you guys shouldn't be telling on each other. You guys
It's
should
funny.
be.
My dad said that too. Like, yeah, you think I'm gonna be give you some credit for tattling on your big brother? You think that makes me happy? You told me that. Why aren't you trying to help him and protect him?
Right.
I was like, yeah, I'm like 7.
Right.
He's like, what if you got pinched by the cartel running a key for me, huh? You think you would crack under the pressure then? I think so. And then 12 straight years of, weapons training and mercenary lifestyle tactics, etc. God, that got out of hand quick. It really did. Rick killed a guy.
Brick
But
killed the guy with the trident.
That's why.
So all the way up to the drug running and mercenary stuff.
No. I mean, like
you were you were relating
my
to my
dad
story.
always made sure that we always had each other's back. Like, we could argue and dialogue with each other, but he was really big on like respect, because I had all brothers, no sisters, 5 boys. And
I know the first time you tried to pick me up off the ground, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, that's how you hug in my family.
I
You
know.
get an over-under, and you get the wrestler's
I was like,
grip.
no, you don't lift me off the ground. No, no. He's like,
I
you don't have any brothers, huh? I'm like, no.
was like, that's how hugs go.
No.
Jeez.
I don't like that. I feel out of control.
Emasculated, yeah.
Not emasculated, just I feel like not in control.
I'll ride on the back of your Harley, man. I don't give a fuck.
That's true.
But you are out of control. If I dropped my hip and tossed it, but no, he really instilled that in us, and it carried on for forever, up until he passed away. But I love that about your kids, and
yeah,
I love that
they're good people.
They really respect adults. They have a very bright, engaging way about them. and there's nothing more at their age you would expect of them behavior wise.
Yeah, for three teenagers,
No,
it's crazy.
they're polite, they're accommodating to the guests, and they're nice, and that's
That's amazing to
that's
me.
very very good.
I
You
feel
did a good
I
job.
feel like I feel like I try to parent on purpose. You know, try to be. Uh, I wouldn't say parent perfectly, not at all, but some things to be very purposeful about
A
that.
lot goes for being real. Like when you can show them reality. Like, hey, drugs, that's a reality. It's gonna come into your life somewhere.
Right,
If it's not you doing it, somebody you know. So
right,
you're gonna have to deal with that.
right.
You know, and just different issues culturally, whatever. You've always been very, sometimes even raw with
Hmm.
them,
Yeah,
but kids like that, they I've noticed personally that the parents are usually more messed up than the kids, and the kids end up like having kind of a cool, straight and narrow, successful life.
yeah, yeah. It's just like it's like we're it's like we're genetically crazy. It's just each generation like gets a little less. But then my son's 18 and he doesn't want to get his license ever, and the idea of growing up is horrifying to him. And that is to me like shameful. I'm like, I feel like I failed. Maybe if I would have,
Maybe it's a phase.
maybe if I would have kept my marriage intact somehow and been in the
Maybe if you'd
home,
have let him play more sports or be
he not
tough.
let him. He would not play him. He wouldn't. I didn't play
Really?
sports either. I played soccer once. I hated.
Well,
I hated sports.
he's I will say this, he's not a pushover kid. He's not somebody that you're just gonna treat badly and you're not gonna
No,
he's
he's
he's either not gonna be around you or he's just, you know, going to take issue with you verbally. But it, I don't feel that way. Hunter's like, think about at his age, I was 5'11", um, my size
yeah.
at 18, going in service, and he's
Yeah, I was 6 foot, 185 pounds.
yeah, he's what 5'6".
He's 5'6", 140 pounds.
Yeah, at that
But
age,
what does
you're
size? What does size matter? You can,
well,
you
yeah,
can,
but
you can, your experience
you
and
want to.
your age and your development through life comes with
Well, I'm
the same amount
saying
of time.
it's going to have an effect on. Okay, I literally went through life thinking I could kick anybody's ass. Like it didn't matter. I really, truly believe that. Whether it was true or not, I don't. I tend to think it wasn't, but like at the time, I truly believed it. So anything that came up or any confrontation or any like respect issue, it would get dealt with without a problem. If I were his size, that would significantly shape my thinking. And I don't actually like condone or encourage anybody to think that way. But for some whatever weird reason, that was to me the only way that you could be guaranteed to get any respect.
What is respect? Like
Sometimes it's fear.
people, I mean, I hear respect. Like I just what does respect mean to you? What does respect mean to Hunter? What does respect mean to my father?
Right?
What does respect
That's
mean to
the
me?
question.
I'm always curious because like things that set you off are things that don't set me off. Because to me, that's not disrespect. To me, it's just human behavior. Human behavior is self-absorbed and
Right?
you know shallow. And
Well, that's why we're different people. I bet you even our fingerprints are probably different
I know. I think they're the same.
if you look close enough.
I think our snowflakes are identical when they fall from our frosty heads.
Oh, that little thumb you call a wiener. Um,
That was
but
weird.
I think like sometimes I don't know.
No, I think you were raised with five boys,
I
right?
was raised
I
around
I was raised with all girls.
we all yeah.
So
we all roughhoused,
it's
and
a different mindset.
my dad was he taught us to, just like your dad taught you to fight. If somebody comes and gets in your personal space, is threatening you, you have my permission. In fact, I forbid you to do nothing. He actually expected us to, he said, aim for the nose, it's the center of the face, hit them 3 ways, fast, hard, and continuously, so they're on the ground. And I did catch that. I caught his respect for somebody being able to kick your ass. I don't know. I'm perceptive. I can kind of tell what people are getting at, and I idolized my dad. So for me, that and I got in a fight in high school with the guy who was a senior when I was a sophomore. He was bigger than me, but needless to say, I ended up making him piss his pants. He pissed himself, like broken jaw, just punctured eardrum. I mean, it was like, oh,
It was a felony.
Yeah, it was. There was nothing cool about it, and
but there was pride from somewhere, right?
You know, yeah, from my dad, I really felt like he didn't condone it, but he was it just kind of made sense to him that would happen, and it I don't know, it really, that's the thing that took me in a bad direction. It took me in from being a fun-loving guy that I am to, I mean, there was literally like 200 or 300 people at this fight. There was, so it was just like everybody in my town, and yeah, no, I killed him. It was absurd. It wasn't even like, anyway. And so it people started to, my dad would put it, they pull your strings. They tell you who you are. They tell you that this is who you are. You're tough. You can do this. Da, da, da. And he's like, you're just a puppet. And that was really like, that was impactful for me. And so I got away from everybody who knew me, and went into the military to try to figure out who I was. But I think respect is, sometimes for me at that age, fear would do in a pinch.
Right. I always say with my kids that respect is a healthy dose of love and fear. They love you, and they fear you a little bit.
Oh yeah, as a parent, I think there has to be some fear. But my dad he loved girls. Like, all he ever wanted was a daughter. And so if I had sisters, I would probably be in the same boat as you, but I didn't. But yeah, he would, like any girlfriend I ever had, like if we ever had a few people over drinking or whatever, as long as we have like a girl there, we're good. He would not flip out if there was a girl. He would just be a gentleman, and considerate to them, and I don't know. But I think Hunter's fine, and I don't think that. I just don't think he's going to solve problems the way that I thought was okay to solve problems. So.
You don't think Hunter's going to be a fighter?
I don't. I think he.
I just wonder if he's ever going to be employed or educated.
Yeah. See, with that goal, I think he'll probably be doing better than you and I at our age.
No way.
In fact, I forbid the son of a bitch.
No.
If he starts doing better,
no,
I have a couple ways to trip him up.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Like,
I'm
he
just talking monetarily,
no, I'm
buddy.
saying he's so far behind the curve. I was already working when I was 15, and I have never stopped. I've always worked, always hustled, and always gotten educated.
But what's the goal for all that hustle though? It's to have that represented in real life dollars in the workforce. Hunter is likable, and I mean, not that you're not, you are too, but he's he just has something that people really respect him,
He's
dig him,
charming.
vibe with him. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a charming kid,
Hmm.
uh, and he does a good job, and people kind of want to see him succeed. So I don't think
I'm not.
six figures. Where you and I were both at six figures. You still are. I'm not, but I've been there, and I think in his 30s he'll probably hit that. Who knows? Maybe sooner.
Well, just based on inflation, if minimum wage is 30,000 a year, then I mean, fuck,
Okay,
it's nothing.
we can even throw in the 10% a year for inflation and still come out with the same. My point is
I,
that I don't think that you, and I think he knows it too. And he's smart enough to know that he is going to be good at what he decides to pursue because it's what he's passionate about, and what he's passionate about, and he invests his time and energy. uh there's nothing that's going to stop you when you're passionate. That's for all people in all walks.
what is he passionate about?
He's passionate about honestly right now I think there's a couple things. He likes the tech stuff kind of because that's what is the most familiar for him with his gaming,
Hmm.
but he's also passionate about proving himself now that he's a man. He wants to, in the next couple of years, you may not see it now, it may not be in a year, but he's it's gonna happen. He's gonna want to prove that uh, he can make it. He's, if nothing else, to himself, And once you see that, you'll be like, "Oh, great, Karen was right," and I'll be like, oh, "Well, I didn't rub it in the other 600 times. I won't rub it in now." But I told you so.
You're a hell of an advocate for my son.
I believe I believe he's really sharp.
Oh, I know he's really sharp.
That's
I never said he
that's
wasn't.
well, you know, that
I never said anything about his intelligence.
that I know you didn't. I know, and but um, work ethic is a big thing. I know that does help drive success, but
He does not want to work. He does not want a job.
he wants to work about as badly as I do.
He does not want a car. He does not want independence. He does not want to ever move out of his mother's house.
He
No,
does.
I'm not fucking
Okay,
kidding.
he doesn't then
This
for
is
right now, but
this is what he speaks
is
out loud.
well then fine. Say, well, I'll let your mom can take care of you as long as she wants.
No,
Let's see how her and Carrie deal with that.
oh, Carrie won't be around, and
Yeah. If it's not your cub, you're not going to be so happy to have the adult lion who's starting to grow a mane hanging around the pride. It's like you need to get the F out and go get your own pride. Even if it is your cub, you're like, take a hike.
Lisa gave him 2 years. She's on Sunday. She said, "You can live with me rent free for 2 years. You decide what you're gonna do with those 2 years.
Hey,
Whether you go to school,
you know what?
whether
He's
whatever."
he's going to use a year and 6 months, maybe a year and 9 months. Maybe after a year, it'll look like he's starting to think some things, but it's gonna. That's the thing that's gonna get him going because if you don't set those deadlines,
Yeah.
then nothing ever changes. So I think that's a good expectation to throw out there.
You know, the weird thing is I'm not just speaking about Hunter specifically. It's this. There's a whole generation of kids that don't want to grow up, and it's not just his friends.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
because all you
there's all these
hear
people that I work with that
Yeah,
they're
we employ them
th-
as,
their
as
their first job, and they're 24 years old, and they've never done anything except for live in their mom's house.
that's a huge parenting
And
error.
I'm like, yeah,
And the only thing that stops that is what you just said, the ultimatum that happened.
right.
That makes it 20. That's much
I
better.
told him he hasn't done anything significant with his life to deserve any time off. Period. Get your
That's
fucking
true.
bachelor's degree and then talk to me about a semester off. But making it through high school half stoned and playing video games is not an accomplishment.
I mean, that's a testament to the American public education system, ladies and gentlemen. You can get through it baked, and if you don't get over a 3 point, then there's a huge issue.
Well, I mean, he's doing calculus and AP government, and he's taking all the advanced courses because again, he's a bright guy. But he's exceptionally smart, which could be part of the issue with lack of drive. But remember, he went from kindergarten to third grade
And he was small for his age.
all at once. He was in advanced third grade at 7 years old.
You know, at that age, like, it's more important to be kids like that are your size.
That's why we made him. He repeated the third grade. I think, yeah, we had him repeat the third grade and move schools and do it again, just so that he can catch back up with the age group. Yeah, yeah.
But no, I think he's just smart enough to where everything, when his back's against the wall, he's gonna land on his feet. I just don't see him as being the type that's. I truly don't, and I have a good feeling, a good perspective on these types of things, and I don't have the added like, he's my son and worry added to it as well. I think
I'm not worried.
It's gonna be quite annoying because he's not going to be as great as he can be, which is gonna just drive a nail through your freaking, your head.
Well, so here's why I bring this up, because I want to circle back to my dad, and so I want to wrap this up too.
Yeah.
And focus on a couple of last things. So we all strive to be like our fathers, mostly, right? So
yeah, whether we know it or not.
Yeah, it's a man's thing. You become a man by emulating the man in your life.
Yeah.
And my father was often disappointed in me. Not disappointed in my existence, but he knew that I wasn't achieving at a level that I could. And I think he was irritated too because he, just like this exercise with you and Hunter, which I think was sweet that you defend him, because I know how much you like. I know how much you love. You love my kids.
That, it's still. That's what I think.
No, even without
loving him.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I still believe that he's freaking a sharp kid and he's gonna land on his feet.
I think he's a sharp kid, and I think he'll land on something. We'll find out. So my dad always told me that I was a classic underachiever, and he was right. I had the capacity to be a straight A student. I didn't give a fuck enough to bother doing it. I didn't try on things that I didn't find to be interesting, and I think he was resentful because he felt that he wasn't
better than all the rules, and so why are you?
No, not specifically. I think that he had his dreams and he had things that he wanted to do, and then reality set in, and the real world doesn't stop and tell you that, oh, sorry about your dreams, but you are A1 for the draft and you're going to Vietnam and you're going to die, or you're going to make this other decision, and then you're going to come back from Germany with a kid in tow, and now you have a family. So therefore, you are going to do that thing. You don't have time now to go be a marine biologist. You're going to be a typewriter mechanic because you can get certified quickly. So it was just like he understood that real that life dictated the terms and the decision.
Maybe it was a harsher experience for him than because of his principles. Maybe life was a harsher teacher to him than it was to you and me.
I don't know. I don't think
So
so.
that was his reality.
I don't know. I think we're more. I think we're probably more similar than unalike, and I think that Hunter and I are more similar than unalike also,
Yeah.
which is my point of this.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that you defended him for half an hour is adorable, and I love it, and he's gonna feel really good hearing that. But my point is that we all have this perspective about our own lives. I mean, I got my girlfriend pregnant when I was 18 years old, and I dropped out of, or I failed my second semester of college, just like my dad predicted I would. He told me, I'm not going to pay for your school because you're going to fail anyways. So once you grow up and get that shit under control, then come talk to me
That's awesome.
about it.
That's
And
so awesome.
first semester I did fine. I had a staff scholarship. Second semester,
The first semester was about saying "I told you so." The second one was "I don't want to be here."
no, it wasn't. I didn't want to be there. I found out that I was having a kid and I was getting sued, and that I had to pay child support at 19 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Excuse me for being assumptive.
So
Never make that mistake.
So, but that was that. See, that was a decision I made, and that's something that my dad had to teach me, because I kept saying like, "Woe is me! When will bad things stop happening?" And he said, "Bad things will stop happening when you start making good decisions."
Yeah,
And I was, and I would want to argue that, you know, and Hunter and I have the same conversations, and this is the legacy of my father, is the perspective, and he would say, well, you know, if you didn't knock up your girlfriend, then you wouldn't have child support. And I was like, well, it's not my fault.
She was supposed to.
It's not my fault she got pregnant. Well, yeah, 100% was. Yeah, because that's how it works. We had the birds and the bees talk before. You know, actually, my mom and I had the birds and the bees
when
talk.
you reach what's called a coitus.
When a man and a woman like each other, kind of, and his parents are out of town visiting grandma.
Yeah.
And she signed your yearbook, even though you broke up with her. Go put your P in her V and see what happens.
I actually thought that you prayed for a kid, like kind of like the stork brought him by.
No.
Yeah, my buddy told me that. Yeah, my parents just fucked, and I was like, what? They don't do that. I was all offended. Anyway, go ahead. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So. My point of the legacy of having a son and having kids is that my father saw that I didn't have the same set of circumstances that he did. I was not drafted. I did not have to make a decision that was contrary to what my life plans were, and then get married and then have a kid and then realize you don't have time for you know, your own childish pursuits, and that you have to now be a man and be a parent, and you do what you have to do.
The best unit of the family. Yeah.
Well, this is one of my dad's saying. He said, "Son, this is what I have to do right now. Like sometimes you just have to do that next thing, and pissing and moaning about it doesn't change the outcome." And I want to finish this narrative with just me, but I want you to listen. So let me get through this story because it's going to make me cry.
Yep.
So when I found out that my father was sick, I got a phone call, and we were putting together a giant jungle gym that Grandma and Grandpa had bought for the kids. It took me, Uncle Bob, and Uncle Bucky 20 hours working to put this fucking jungle gym together. That was one of those huge wood contraptions. Those huge wooden contraptions, right, from Costco, the huge ones. Well, Grandma and Grandpa, they bought a $2,500 jungle gym and shipped it to me because I had more kids than anybody. I beat my siblings, hands down. everything with your sisters, and everything's got to be a competition, right? So Jenny had 2 kids. Reagan had 3 pregnancies, but only 1 kid. I have had 7 pregnancies and 4 kids. So, anyways, so I got the toy. So, I remember getting a phone call from my mom. We just spent all this time building this jungle gym, and I get a phone call, and I think my mom had talked to my wife and said that it looked like my dad had cancer, and so got on the phone with mom, and mom said, "Well, we just found out your dad has like a stage 3 tumor in his colon, and he has to get treatment, and he has to have surgery immediately, and then we'll figure out the treatment plans." And I said, "What?" He'd only been retired for a year. Like, what the fuck? Like, he retired at like 61, 60 maybe, and I couldn't process it. And I remember I was out there with my friends, and I just like took the information and I ran through all the scenarios in my head, and I thought, colon cancer, well, a surgery, that's survivable. At least it's not liver, bone cancer. I mean, those will take you out fast, right? So I'm just trying to process it, and all of a sudden, the reality of my father's mortality comes, and I didn't think it was something I was going to have to deal with for another 15 or 20 years. You know, when you're a little kid, you have nightmares about your parents dying because it's your brain's way of fortifying you against, bad things that can happen. We're never fully happy. As like Dr. Brene Brown says, you will find yourself in a moment of absolute bliss and joy when you're looking at your children, and then immediately imagine them drowning or catching on fire. And it's your brain's way of self-regulating too much joy. You have to throw that fear in. But I didn't expect that at 60, 61 years old that I would hear that news. And I thought, well, he's a tough son of a bitch. Um, that really sucks. And I'm out in the backyard on playing with this $2,500 jungle gym that my kids didn't even like. Being grateful to my mom and dad, and then I just felt like my world came out from underneath me, because I remember when my dad's dad died 6 months before I was born. He died in March of 1973. I never met him. He was 59 years old, and he had a heart attack and died. Mom's dad died when he was 59 years old also, and when she was 12. Step grandpa Jack, he was there for my christening, but then he died shortly thereafter I was born. So the only real man in my life I'd had is my dad. He was it. So I knew I would have to contend with the reality of him not being there someday. Um, and that was the first moment where that reality set in, where there was a potential finish line, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, obviously. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay positive, and I'm going to, I'm going to pray for him, and I'm sure everything will be okay. So we made a trip out right away to go visit, and he'd gone to the doctors, and he got PET scans done, and we're at my mom and dad's house, and you know I don't think I'd ever been to that house, the one they had moved to after they moved out of San Diego and retired. I think it was my first time to that house, I think. And so we're there, and it's kind of, you feel like a fish out of water, because you don't have a bedroom there, you've never lived there. You're literally, it's like being in a stranger's house, even though it's your parents. It smells like your parents. It's got like, your parent type stuff there, but it's not home. It's not. it won't ever feel like home because you've never lived there. So I remember there was this point of discussion that we were waiting for news to come back from oncology, and the news was going to be taken one of two ways. It was if he only needed 6 weeks of treatment, that meant that um, things were looking more positive. If he needed 12 weeks of treatment, then that would say that things were worse than expected. So he had already gone in and had surgery, and they removed this tumor from his colon. Now, this is why I suspect that he had celiac sprue his entire life, and it killed him. Um, he always had stomach issues, upset, bloating, pain, just a lot of GI issues. And but you notice when he did Atkins diet, um, all that stuff went away, and he would feel great when there was no wheat in his diet. And I remember it was like these epiphany moments, like, hey, I don't eat bread and I feel better. I eat bread, I feel like shit. Um, well, back then they didn't diagnose celiac often. Um, Even when I got diagnosed 9 years ago, that was because I harassed and harassed and harassed and harassed 5 medical providers, and then had to get the insurance to do it, and then prove my father had colon cancer at a young age, like just to get it covered. And then I had to have colonoscopy and an endoscopy, upper endoscopy, to do biopsies in order to prove it. It's crazy. But Dad had a clean colonoscopy at 59, and then at 60, a stage 3 tumor. That's a lot of tumor growth in 1 year. Usually in a year, you get a polyp, not a stage 3 tumor. So either they missed it or it was really aggressive. So Dad has a surgery, and he gets through the surgery okay. We're up visiting. It's morose, of course, but had to go see the folks. And no matter what my dad went through, his words of wisdom and um, his life's mottos and creeds, he probably doubled down on them when times were bad. And he taught me a huge lesson, and it's one that I took to heart with my kids. And with my kids, there's a lot of ritual, there's a lot of pattern, and there's a lot of routine, there's a lot of sayings, there's a lot of mantras. Um, when I leave this earthly place, I guarantee you that my father's legacy and my legacy will continue on through my kids, absolutely no problem. Because I watched my dad during these trying times have to or be comforted by remembering the things that he believes about life, and the things that he believes about responsibility, and the things that he believes about God, and the things that he believes about Jesus, and the things that he believes about people. And he became 1000% more of himself, and was absolutely resolutely John Adams, unwavering till the day he died. From the day he realized that the end was potentially sooner than he expected. So we're at the house, and we're in the kitchen hanging out, and then the phone call comes, and my mom is just on point. She's just like, oh God, what is it? Is it? So my dad takes the call. Hello, this is John. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Bye bye. Click. My mom's like, so what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? And he's like, relax. That was oncology. They called, and she's like, I know who called. I know who called. Answer the question. My dad was so deliberate, it would just drive her nuts. He was like, in case we didn't all know what the phone call was for, right? So that was a doctor from Kaiser Oncology, and they said, "What did they say?" 12 weeks. And you think like that was like Groundhog Day for cancer, and like you had to like kill the groundhog. So he said 12 weeks, and then mom like flips out, and she's just like, oh my god, 12 weeks, no, and she's like flipping out, and then I remember, and she says, she looks at him and she's like, why aren't you more upset? And he said, what difference would it make, Carol? This is what I need to do right now. Getting upset about it was not going to change the fact. And then, mom had to go be alone and cry. And then he stood there and he's like, yep, well, this kind of sucks. I said, yeah, it does kind of suck. He's like, I don't know why she gets all worked up. But he kind of smirked, because he knows. Duh. I said, yeah, Dad, because you have cancer and it's bad. So why don't you go hug your wife? And he did. He took advice from me. Like, don't be cavalier. You don't have to show off in front of me. It sucks. But we were all together for the announcement that things weren't going to be quite as smooth sailing as we hoped. So to get through the devastating parts a little sooner, I'm not going to drag it on too long. Dad basically did chemo for a year, like 12 weeks on, 12 weeks on, 12 weeks on, 12 weeks on, something like that. And then they gave him a clean bill of health. They said, cancer's gone. Good job, sir. Rock and roll. And my time frames might be a little bit off, but I believe for about the next year, he was considered in remission, which is good. And then he had to go for a routine PET scan. He had to go every 6 months, I believe, to get checked out to see if everything was still staying in remission. And he had some spots come up on his liver during a routine PET scan. So we got another phone call that Dad, it looks like Dad might have some cancer back. They found some spots on his liver. So they said, we're going to go to Walnut Creek where there's a specialist, and we're going to see what there is to see. See what there is to see. And I think a couple weeks before, my dad, he and my mom preached. My mom read, and he was the lead preacher for a church service. And then it was Easter Sunday, and then it was Monday. Drive to Walnut Creek and meet with a specialist. And the news was not good. The specialist said, well, we can probably keep you going for 18 months. That's the prognosis. You have cancer of the liver. And when it's in your liver, that means it's going to spread everywhere. But he said, good news, you have a bad heart. And if you're lucky, your heart will take you out before the cancer does. Hallelujah, right? So that's a big, ugly dose of no shit, right? So mom and dad get back home. He first talks to my sister, who is down the street, and tells her what's going on. Sweetheart, it's not looking good. I don't know the details of their conversation. I can tell you the details of mine. Calls my little sister, talks to her, same. Calls me. I remember my mother-in-law and Danny step-in-law, stepdad guy. They were there for Easter for us, and I remember like we just put dinner on the table. It was almost 7 o'clock, and I got a call. It's my dad. I said, "It's my dad. I'll be back." I remember laying on the edge of my bed in the dark, and there's my dad. And he says, "Hello, son. This is your dad." "Hi, Dad. What's going on?" "Well, went to the specialist in Walnut Creek, and things aren't looking good." I said, "How not good?" He said, "Well, they can do some specialized treatments. They can do some, I don't know, they have these like embolism like things. They can just put the chemo directly into my liver and tie it off. And I don't know, they got all these treatments they think they can possibly do." I said, "Well, what does that buy you?" And he said, "According to the doctors, 18 months. But come on, it's American medicine. 18 months could be 18 hours. You never know." And I was like, "Whoa, fuck." So to hear my dad say, "Hey," without saying specifically, that I'm, my ticket's up, son. And I didn't know what to say, and I don't think he knew what to say, and I don't know if he knew what he was looking for. And I said, "Hey, Dad, you did a good job." He said, I'm a good husband, I'm a good father, and you taught me that. I have a good job, I have great work ethic, I have a good sense of humor. I think my priorities are straight. I have to say that you did it, and I'm going to be okay." And I bet my sisters would say the same thing. So please don't fight because you think you need to for us, because we're okay. And he said, "Okay." And that was probably the most grown up, selfless thing that I think I've done up to that point. Just nothing that you want to do ever is deal with losing a parent. It doesn't matter how it happens. It sucks no matter what. It does, it can take a year. It can take 10 years. It can take half a day. It doesn't matter. Losing a parent is awful. But I I I know that my dad is that kind of man that if I had told him that it wasn't time, that he couldn't go, he had to fight like a motherfucker, I think he would have tried. I think he was relieved. He was tired. He was tired. He was so tired of being sick. He was tired of being half the person that he was used to being. He was a man who was a mason, and uh, you know, he worked and he played and he participated and he ran things and he's active in the church, and like dad was just everywhere to every people. He was people love my father. Love him. They still love him. If you knew John Adams, then you loved him. And that's all there was to it. Because he was kind and he was funny and he was sweet. and he was a little sarcastic and a bit of a smartass, but he was just genuine. He was just a fucking genuine guy, and he would have given you the shirt off his back, and well, he would have given you his last breath if he needed to. Um, I will do the last thing we talked about before he went. After I was able to catch my breath again, thinking like the first time I had heard it, this could be the last time I talked to him. So I said, well, remember what I said. No extreme measures, Dad. You don't have to fight anymore. I love you. And you did an amazing job. And you got 3 good kids. You got a bunch of great grandkids that are amazing people. So I said, you always told me, Dad, the only legacy that you leave behind when you die is how you raised your kids, and you have fulfilled your legacy. So, and then the last thing he said was, "Well, I guess it's time to get those $80 cigars and come visit." So there's always these really expensive cigars, and he always wondered what was the difference between a $20 cigar and an $80 cigar. But he couldn't rationalize spending $80 on cigars. Well, the last thing he said to me was basically, "Got nothing left to lose, and I can't take it with me, so might as well do the $80 cigars." So I'm going to tell you my experience, just from my perspective, how the next 12 hours went, and I'm actually going to read what my sister wrote to me tonight, who was present. My older sister, who was present. My younger sister and I were not able to be present. We didn't know what was going down either. So he was up all night with chest pains, and we'll just fast forward. Dad wasn't the sort of person who would admit to weakness, but he wasn't the sort of person who would say that um, he liked going to the doctors. He didn't admit failure ever, but the night was bad, and my mom basically stood there, and he couldn't lay down, so he sat up and rested his head on her, and she held him because if he laid down, he couldn't breathe, and his heart hurt. So in the morning, they agreed that they should go into the doctor. So I will tell you my experience, and I'm going to read Jenny's experience, which is going to be similar to Mom's experience, and then I'll tell you a couple of fun, happy things. So So I get a phone call from my mother, and this is my recollection. It's about 11 o'clock, 11-ish, 11:10, and she says, "Hey, just want to let you know we're at the hospital with your dad, and it's not looking really good." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I'm not sure if he's gonna make it." And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, things aren't going. Things aren't looking good, son." Or I said, fuck. Um, I'm so sorry. I wish I could be there. Can you tell him I love him? And then call me back. Let me know what happens." So I was at work, and this is what Jenny said. When he left the room, we were all laughing and doing good. Then, when they brought him back, he was starting to cough up blood. They were trying to get him hooked back up to the monitors, and he said he couldn't catch his breath. Mom was holding his spit pan, and I was wiping the blood away from his mouth and chin. It got bad quick, and the doctor kept saying, "I don't know why this is happening." Then Dad looked at me and took his last breath while holding my hand, and they leaned him back and kicked us out of the room. That was the last time I saw Dad alive. They let us back in the room a little while later to say goodbye to him, but he was already gone. There. At about 11:15 to 11:30, my heart skips a beat and then goes through it all over again. It's gotten better. I don't fall apart anymore. Just hold it in. So then I got the call back from my mom. She said, "He's gone." I said, "What?" And there was my life before and after that moment. They were different. The way I laughed and the way I processed and the weight of the responsibility of the life and everything just changed. And I walked back into work and I was trying to get my stuff together and trying to sign out and trying to cancel some meetings, and I was trying not to fall apart. They were like, "What happened?" I said, "My dad died." And they said, "When?" I said, "Right now." They said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Right now." They said, "Well, go to him." I said, "I can't. It's too far away. He's already gone. There's nothing I can do." They were like, "Well, get out of here. Go be with your family." I said, "I'm trying to. I'm trying to cancel my meetings." They're like, "Fuck your meetings. Go." That's me, workaholic, right? So I'm walking out of the building and I don't want to make eye contact with anyone. I'm just trying not to lose it. And Martha Furness, who was my boss of bosses for 20 years, she was the vice president of the office here. Um, I made it all the way out of the building, down the stairs, and I'm making a beeline past her. I have to get past her and just not get caught looking sad. And she senses something when I go by. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. You guys can probably tell. And she feels it on me. She literally feels it. And she stops and she goes, "Jeff Adams, are you okay?" Now, I have a hard time lying to direct questions. That's the whole wrong fucking question and the right question to ask me at that time. This is why when I talk to you guys about depression, I told you, ask that question. It's powerful. Are you okay? Not how are you? Do you need anything? Can I help? Are you okay? And she said, "Jeff Adams, are you okay?" And I said, "No." And then I started crying. And then she ran to me and said, "What happened? What happened? What happened?" I told her. She's like, "Well, go to him. Go to him. Go to him." I said, "I can't. It's too late. There's nothing I can do right now. We'll figure out what, what we're going to do for his funeral." And she walked me to my car and she kept her arms around me and she hugged me and She's like, I'll get you a plane ticket. I'll get you anything. What do you need from me? What do you need from me? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And genuine. She's a genuine person. I said, I don't need anything. I'm all right. I'm gonna go home and be alone with my thoughts right now, and see if I can figure out how to process this before my kids get home. Ugh. So I go home and I call. Oh, I think Lisa calls me, and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I went home." She said, "Why? Why are you home early?" I said, "My dad died," and she flipped out. She loved him so much. Lisa did not have a good father figure, and she loved my dad so much, like so very much. Even today, she's just like sad. And he loved her. He really did. He loved her so much. He was so sweet, incredibly sweet. And they had a bond. And he really respected her, and he really liked her. He thought she was a good person. He wasn't wrong. And the first year that somebody passes away, you think about them every day, several times a day. You don't realize how much you consider somebody who's important in your life until they're not there anymore. I can't even imagine what my mom goes through. 42 years with somebody. And she would tell me stories about feeling his presence there. And I don't doubt it at all. 100%. Losing a spouse after that long has got to be like losing a limb. It itches, but it's not there to scratch anymore, you know? Sorry, Mom. I guess I'm lucky. I am spouseless. So we all die alone, anyways. So I've got the advantage. Oh, and mortality for divorced men is like 10 times higher. So that's great. I'll be dead by 50. It'll be great. Just kidding. Just kidding. Um, so two good points, and we got to wrap this up. I had to. The family we were driving out for his services, and my mom called me. She said, will you eulogize your father?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And she said, "Just think of some things." And she was trying to give me pointers, and I said, "Mom, I already wrote his eulogy." And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "For Father's Day, like 6, 7 years ago, I wrote him his eulogy, and I called it. I think it was like a living eulogy for my father." And the preface was this. I said, "Often in times, or more, or all the time, basically, people will never hear what those thought about them when they were living, because people only tell those truths once you're gone. So you'll never have the benefit of knowing how you impacted people around you. So, because you mean the world to me, and yeah. Oh, yeah, I know there's a counter right there. Um, so the eulogy had been written years ago. So I wrote it for him, and I had to make it really tiny print. like really small. But I basically told him all the amazing things that were John Adams. And I framed it and then put it up on the wall, or he put it up on the wall in his office. And my mom said that during the last few years, he she would find him standing in his den or in his office reading it because I wanted him to know what an amazing man he was. So it was twofold. It was to me, it was a gift to give a man while he was living, so he would know how I would speak of him when he passed, and it was a bonus to myself that I didn't have to, in a despondent state, try and come up with something to eulogize him by. So when she said, "You need to do this. Do you have any ideas?" and I said, "Yeah, take the paper off the wall. Can you retype it into bigger print because it's really tiny? Because it's a lot of words on a little page." And by the time we got there, she and her friends had been sobbing, reading and transcribing that eulogy for me. And they said, "Oh my God, it's so amazing, it's so sweet." So the day of his services, I remember feeling like I was gonna have a heart attack or a stroke. Like I was starting to get really nervous, and I thought, when I get up there and I start eulogizing my father, if I crack, it's over. I will not be able to get my words out. My uncles were there, family, friend, Masons, like people came from everywhere to come to my dad's funeral. So I literally just heard his voice in my head, and I'm not kidding, as clear as day. He said, "Son, this is just what you have to do right now." And it gave me clarity, and I was like, "Yep, there's no sense in freaking out. I just need to do this thing right now." So I got up and I introduced myself and I introduced the concept that I had written his eulogy for him to read over and over and over again, so he knew before he died what an amazing man he was. And then I read it verbatim to them. And I didn't crack and I didn't cry. And my brother-in-law Sean, he was like, "Dude, there was not a dry eye in this room. Not a dry eye. There was not a dry eye. I don't know how you did that. I would have lost my mind. How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I just heard my dad in my head say, 'Son, this is what you have to do right now.' And I just did it." He's like, "You're a monster. I would have lost my mind." I'm like, "Well, guess he taught me something." We're not going to do pictures because it's been 3 hours. Pictures are on Facebook. Look up John Adams. I've posted a bunch of pictures, great pictures of him. Um, what was it? What was my last thought? This is what you have to do. And I can't believe I just drew a blank on the last thing. What was my last thought? This is what you have to do right now. Huh. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on the very last thought. It's been a lot of hours. If you knew him, you loved him. And if he knew you, he loved you. That's just a fact. Uh, Raising my own son, I now understand why he felt like maybe he was failing, but ultimately he wasn't. We're just all wired a little bit differently. My son's wired differently than I am, but ultimately he's already more like his grandfather than I ever expected. He's a little Republican, pretty spot on. something that I really, really admired about my dad is that he had gone from a practicing Lutheran, somewhat agnostic kind of we do church because we're told to, and that's what we do just in case, to 100% no doubt follower of Christ, saved, 100%, no doubt. Dad had no doubt where he was going when he passed on, none. And I called him out on it too. I was like, hey, when you were 36 years old, you were like, well, I don't know. There could be this universal consciousness. There could be this, this energy where obviously humans are all connected. You don't have all these religions and blah 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 blah. Blah, like most of us in that age group will do, and some of us in our 40s, 50s, some of us forever. Um, but him passing away around Easter is always a good reminder to me that he embraced his faith at the end to the point where he got up and did his sermon. He did a sermon. He was not a pastor, but he did his sermon. Man, he preached, and I know that he believed what he said without a doubt. That he believed the things that he said without a doubt, with absolute conviction, to his dying breath. And there is something very cathartic about that. He died knowing who he was, 100%. And then he made me. So there you go. Celebrate him. If you have parents who are still around, call them, tell them you love them. Don't make any assumptions. Here was the last thing I was going to say. Now I remember. My mom and I actually said this. I said, wow, guess what? We found out that the power of prayer actually works. Because we all prayed that he wouldn't have to suffer. And yeah, it was like 12 hours later, he was gone. So we joked about that. We were like, shit, be careful what you pray for. Like, we were all like, please, Heavenly Father, do not let my father suffer. Don't just
like rolling your eyes like, oh, this doesn't work. Nothing.
Yeah, we're like, come on, God, just give me one. Like you never let me get the basketball, like the 3-point shot, but like at least give me this for God's sake. I swear to God, if you give me this one, then I'll tell everybody. And then, yeah, guess what? God didn't let him suffer. Gone. Bye bye. They said, okay. Hey, guess what, sucker? Guess who owns your heart now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took his buddy Perrin pointing it out later, and he's like, yeah, I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was like, wait a second, you're always making those like horrible Christian jokes. And you're like, yeah, but it's funny. I'm like, that's true, it is funny.
Yeah. Oh, I love Christianity. I just think Christians are shitheads.
Oh, you and I can have a whole podcast about that. We should.
And I don't mean Christians. I just mean
the righteous ones.
Those who use,
which, hint,
hold
there
on.
are none.
Those who use their faith as a weapon as opposed to a tool. That's it. Just don't weaponize your faith. That's not what Jesus intended. All right, off my soapbox. That's not what this was about. I don't want to be mean.
Dude, that was touching, you Dad, what you wrote. I didn't ever actually hear that. That's amazing.
So 11 years in, this is the first time I recorded anything. I haven't even posted on his Facebook page, probably for the last 4, because I wanted to not feel this heavy burden in my heart every year. But it was time to share it. So he was an amazing dude. Love you, Dad. Love you, Mom.
Much respect, Mr. Adams. You're an amazing man.
Amazing. Tomorrow will be a show about like sex and donkeys. I don't know, something.
Isn't that called a donkey show?
No, that's against terms of service. You can't say it like that.
You
Jesus,
can't
Baron.
even say it.
All right, guys. Thanks for playing. Yeah, my name is Jeffrey. Have a good night.